All right, Heather, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. All right, Heather, A through Z.
We will do. My first letter that came to mind was J. Can you work that in?
R-rated movies are having a jolly good time in the box office.
There we go. Nice. Well done.
Deadpool's had a Billy. I think Deadpool's also the highest grossing R-rated movie, at least domestically or something like that. I don't know. It's made a stupid amount of money. And the Alien Romulus did not do bad. So, I mean, that's a very unique thing in our landscapes. I mean, Borderlands was supposed to be a rated R movie and they cut it down to PG-13. I mean, maybe it had a shot if it had stayed rated R, especially if you got Eli Roth directing. Who the fuck goes, you know what? I need Eli Roth directing something not rated R. Yeah, the guy that directed Hostel. You just need to have him go a nice PG-13. I know. He also directed that movie that's like a house with clocks in the walls or something like that, which also had Cate Blanchett and Jack Black in it also. But still. But yeah. In 2 weeks, 2 weekends, I should say at least, Borderlands has a solid 18 mil in box office. It's being pulled from theaters. It's going to streaming. So that's a thing.
Are you sad about that? Are you sad that less people will get to experience it with surround sound in the theater?
No, I'm kind of jealous. Like
are you?
I had to like leave my house, like pay money and all that shit. Like it's kind of bullshit that other people have the luxury of pausing it, playing with their cats, you know, just doing whatever the fuck they want whilst watching it.
Well, have you know, it improved on Rotten Tomatoes. It went from 3% to 10%.
I don't give a fuck.
Oh.
Speaking of Rotten Tomatoes, though, they are adding a new thing to the website. They're adding verified hot movies. That's based on the audience score. So if you're kind of like certified fresh, if you're certified hot or verified hot, you're hot popcorn.
Huh. Okay.
Because you know how they're what's it called? The audience score was done by Popcorns. Yeah. You're a verified hot popcorn based on your audience score.
Interesting.
All right. And it's the same. It has to get, 60?
I think so.
No, how does that work? Because certified fresh has to be 70 and above?
Certified fresh technically is anything that is also verified or fresh, but it's a certain amount of top critics have liked it, blah, blah, blah. Like it can't have dropped more than 10 points since its initial scoring type of shit. It gets a very weird thing.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that deep.
There is so many things to make it verified fresh.
Okay.
But also, that's why sometimes small movies don't get a certified fresh for a while. Because just not enough top critics have reviewed it.
Okay.
So like right now on Rotten Tomatoes, right now, there's a movie called Twilight of the Warriors. Looks to be a foreign film. Yeah, it looks to be a foreign film, right? But it's got a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. But it's just a 91%. And that's because not enough top critics have probably certified it. Because you have to have a certain number of top critics, like a certain percentage of your reviews have to be top critics. And they also have to be fresh. So if like top critics all give it bad reviews, but regular critics give it great reviews, so it might be like a 75. But top critics, it's like a 57 or something. It still won't be certified fresh. You know, they've got all
It'll just
kinds.
be fresh.
Yes, it'll just
But it
be
won't
fresh.
Be certified fresh.
Certified
Okay.
fresh has a lot of rules.
Okay.
So
I guess in contrast to that, I guess the hot popcorn, since you don't necessarily have top fans and shit, I guess it'll just be if it's 60. It'll just
I think
the popcorn.
So. They've
maybe?
been all day today. They've been like, "Hey, this movie's verified hot. This movie's verified hot." Like, and I'm trying to find like an article that'll actually tell me what the fuck. Okay. So Rotten Tomatoes. This is according to Variety. Rotten Tomatoes launches new verified hot badge for audience reviews. They've got a new badge to honor fan favorite films with a high score rating. The new verified hot badge will complement the popular certified fresh tomato meter badge. The latter is given to the highest praised film by critics, and the latest badge will be awarded to films with verified audience scores of 90% or higher. So I think that's to kind of help with review bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because 90, boy, that's pretty steep.
Yeah. Which is fair. I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm ever going to give a fuck anyway. Like, I'm never going to go, man, this movie's verified hot. Let me go watch it.
You don't care about the fans think.
No, fuck them.
Come on, stir.
Fuck the
Stir
fans.
Fry. You don't care about what the fans think.
I don't care what fans think. I care what cinefans think, but not what fans think.
Okay. Not the hot fans. Not the.
Dude, all right, just put it this way. Audience scores, right? Coraline. Because they're doing a re-release of Coraline in 3D, whatever, so it's got Coraline on here, right? Coraline is only a 74% with fans. Like, who the fuck has watched Coraline and didn't like it? Like, Coraline's a fucking fantastic movie.
Yeah, Coraline's good.
I mean, Borderlands is at a fucking 53% with fans. They're telling me half the fucking people that saw that movie liked it. I haven't heard a single person say they did. Yet somehow, half the people that watched it liked it. A guy I know, my ex-brother-in-law, fan of the Borderland franchise, wrote that it was garbage. So, who the fuck are these fans? Harold and the Purple Crayon, which is supposedly a horrific movie, solid 25% with critics going, fuck this movie, it is terrible. 92% with fans. It's going to get verified hot or whatever the fuck it is. Verified hot. It's a rotten movie that I've also not heard of. Also, nobody's fucking seeing it too. That's what I'm confused about. The movie made like $4. And somehow 92% on the audience score. I mean, I don't know, guys. I don't know.
So I was just curious what people who liked the Borderlands movie were saying. And one person said, the film looks great and had good pacing. You'll laugh and enjoy the action sequences. Oh no.
Was this a fan or a critic?
This was a fan. And then somebody else as a fan said, absolute phenomenal film, must see. I'm like, that has to be somebody trolling, right? Like, I'm so confused. Man. And then another one says, I don't know what these people are saying. This movie is freaking cool. It's like watching Mad Max with cooler guns.
What?
I'm like, these can't be real reviews, right? All of those sound like the opposite of what I watched.
Here's another one. And this, I'm going to read the whole thing, just the whole thing. Went expecting the worst after all the negative reviews and press. Saw it with 7 friends/girlfriends. Half had played the games and half knew nothing about it. We enjoyed it for what it was, like the actors and characters. It wasn't the best movie ever made, but it was far from the worst movie ever made. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
No, any of these that are saying like their characters are great, I just don't understand like at all.
I mean, sure. Like if you're going for like, I don't know, characters with the depth of a made-for-TV movie from 1992, sure. You got to get in and out in an hour and a half with commercial breaks. Got to keep that plot going at a brisk pace. Don't have time for none of that pesky plot, character development.
Right.
Getting in the way of those commercial breaks. You remember back in the day, guys, when they do those like event made for TV movies that were like split up over 2 nights, and they do like 2 hours one night and 2 hours the next night. And you're like, man, that's massive. It's just so long.
Yeah.
And then you watch it cut together as one movie, and it's like an hour and 20 minutes. Just brisk as fuck. You're like, but it took me 2 nights to watch this. The 90s were a wild time.
I feel like that's what happened with the original It movie, if I'm not mistaken. Right? There was like a two night thing. And I feel like, maybe it is actually long, but I feel like that's like, I just remember thinking, oh, that movie was super long. Because before I saw the newer one, I was like, I don't know. It was just such a long movie. But maybe it actually wasn't. So
I think it's like 2.5 hours long.
Okay. So it's not brisk, but it felt longer because it was the 2 night thing.
Yeah, but I mean, when they did the new remake of it, that's what, 4.5 hours for the same story?
That's true.
I mean, it gets, let's see. It. Stephen King's It. I'm sorry. The original one is 3 hours and 12 minutes. And It Chapter 2 is 2 hours and 50 minutes alone. So the second half of the new one is only 22 minutes shorter than the original.
Yeah.
That's 250. That show was 5 hours long. They added 2 hours to it.
Mm-hmm.
I am so glad I never watched those as one movie. I also have not watched It Chapter 2 since the theater.
Yeah, me neither.
It was not good, guys. Do you remember that?
I was fine with it more than you guys were, but it wasn't better than the first one.
I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it also just was not as good. Like, you get an amazing chapter 1, and it just limped to a finish.
Yeah, chapter 1 was just dope, man. It was just so good. It was just...
How is the movie with kids better than the one with adults? When the fuck does that happen?
Especially when you have like Jessica Chastain and Bill Hader as the adults. Like, this is weird. Yeah.
Wasn't it James McAvoy too? Wasn't he?
Yeah. I don't know why I forgot that.
Yeah.
I legitimately was guessing. It has been so long since I thought about that movie. I had to guess who the fuck was in it.
Yeah. James McAvoy's the main character, and he's a phenomenal actor. So just, yeah, it's strange that the one with all the kids was the better movie. Yeah.
Apparently my vaping fucks up my camera a little bit. I am so blurry. I was just going to see how long.
Man, I was about to say, oh no, what is my connection doing now? I was about to say, why does Sterling look like that?
Dude, I looked like that ghost character that's on a poster in a movie from the like 2000s. You know how they'd have the main hot chick in the front, and then they'd have the ghost blurry in the background. I was that for a second. I looked like I should have been behind like Jennifer Love Hewitt in a movie poster or some shit.
No, you look like one of those blurted out family members that doesn't want to be in the crime documentary. That's what you look like.
No. You know what it was? I look at the beginning of a crime reenactment off a show on the ID channel.
Yeah. Yep.
Because those things always start blurry.
Yep. Always.
Oh, man. You remember those days? Those were fantastic. Do you remember when back in the day when almost 90% of the shows we watched that were about real shit were just reenactments? Because America's Most Wanted, Unsolved Mysteries, A Current Affair, just like everything was reenactments. Man. Crazy times.
And it's funny because sometimes when I watch that stuff now where they do like the crime reenactment or any of those like shows where their actors are playing these people as they're talking about it, now I pay more attention to the acting. Like sometimes I'm like, this actor doesn't look anything like this person, or I'll be like,
those are some of my favorites.
Why did he do that way? Like his acting, he was doing a little too much. He's a little too intense for, I think, what this person is describing. And you like now also, I'm like all critical about it.
And you can also see some of the biases they have in that shit. Like,
yeah,
like, you know, like say if in the 90s, the victim was like an overweight, short, bald man. It's just some ripped fucking tall ass guy in the reenactment. Because they're like, nah, he's the victim. And the criminal actually looks like the victim in real life. It gets real confusing and shit.
Yep. Or it's just funny how now you pay more attention to that. Or sometimes I'm actually surprised when the actress that they pick looks a lot like the person. I'm like, oh, that she, you know, I'll be like, oh, bravo. Casting, she looks like a younger her. This is, you guys did good with this one. But sometimes I'm like, her hair's not even the same color. Like sometimes it's weird how they pick them. Like, it's just like, did they even try? Or was it just the first person that answered the ad? Like, why does this person not look like this person at all? Just nothing. So it's just funny sometimes. It's just weird how much I'm noticing that now. Because I don't think I ever used to notice it back then when I would watch stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think it's because back in the day, that's all we got.
True.
You know, we didn't have anything else. So that could be why, at least. But also Phil Donahue died this week. That was a very weird segue. That was very rough. But yeah, the king of daytime talk, the godfather of daytime talk, if you will, the guy that started it all. I mean, without him, there's no Ricky Lake. There's no Sally Jesse Raphael. There's no Jerry Springer. There's no Geraldo Rivera. There's no Oprah Winfrey. He started this shit. What's his name? Maury. Steve Wilco. But yeah, he passed away.
I think he was like 80 something years old.
Yeah. I mean, I've got one other thing I want to talk to you guys about too. It's going to be a surprise. You guys had no idea I was going to talk about this because this is something I actually intentionally left out of when I was like, hey guys, what news do you guys want to talk about? I left this out. Have you guys seen the newest trailer for Lion King Zero Mufasa? The Lion King story or whatever the fuck they're calling it?
Yep.
Yeah.
They literally have Mufasa as an orphan who Scar convinces his family to adopt, and then they make him king? And then they want to make him the villain? Come on, man. Then on top of that, too, what the fuck was that speech in that movie when he's all, Simba, I'm now Lion King of the Stars, and, and I'm with all your ancestors and all this shit. No, you're not. You're not related to any of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, they've sort of retconned the origins of them because even when you go back and watch the original, there are lines specifically that imply that Mufasa and Scar are blood brothers. Like, there's a whole part where Scar is like, you got the I got the brains, but unfortunately you got all the brute strength. Like, they're clearly talking like they're blood brothers. You know what I mean? So this is like they've retconned it, sort of. And I mean, now I'm just kind of intrigued by it, though. I don't know. Now I'm a little intrigued. Not intrigued like, oh, I think this is going to be good. I think I'm probably going to have similar feelings to what we had about the other one, because I just don't see, I see myself having the same issues. But now I'm just wondering how they're going to do this story. Like, I'm just wondering how Scar now becomes the Scar we know from what I saw in that,
Oh, it's going to be something stupid.
Yeah.
I've got no faith. I've got no faith in it whatsoever because, like, you're directly contradicting your own fucking movies, your own source material. Fuck. You're directly contradicting your other live action movie because, it's a shot for shot fucking remake of the other one. So it's got the same fucking lines. Like, and on top of it, too, like, they're probably going to have some scene where it's going to be some of that bullshit of like Loki or Scar's dad is going to be like, yeah, Scar, I know you're supposed to be the prince and you're supposed to be the king, but man, this Mufasa is all hella kingly because he's all a big, strong lion and you're not, or something like that. So, we're lions. So I got to respect big, strong. So Mufasa's going to be the king of the Pride Land. And Scar's going to be like, but why? And Mufasa's going to be like, I can't be king. And they're going to end up getting in a fight because Scar's jealous, because that's how they're going to play it. He's jealous. And that's when he turns evil. Even though, like, don't get me wrong, I'm completely against the idea of monarchies and birthrights and all that other shit. But, like, you can't have that be the principalities of your entire franchise, because that's also why Simba's king. That's also why Simba's children are kings. Like, that's the whole point of these movies, is that birthright symbology, destiny, all that shit. And then go, but Scar was jealous, so he's not kingly, or some bullshit. Like it wasn't his right to begin with. Like he doesn't have qualms. I mean, kind of makes more sense why he killed the motherfucker. Just saying. He was literally just taking back what was his. I mean,
Yeah, it's gonna just make the story worse, because, like, even in the original, it's not like Scar's like, I should be king because I'm the only real son. Like, it's just, the retcon's gonna just make everything a lot worse.
That's another point too. Why are they just now mentioning that in the past? Like not one line of him going, man, Mufasa, like, I should be king, right? Like, motherfucker stole it from me. What if my family didn't take you in and just let you die in the fucking Nile? Like, you should have.
Yeah.
Why would, of all villains, the pettiest motherfucker of all, Scar, isn't gonna fucking do it? You're telling me that there was a Disney villain that was more petty and or more sassy than that motherfucker? Come on.
I mean, it only gives you more fuel for your hatred for Mufasa, though, because you're probably like, yeah, of course he should have been king now.
I mean, you're telling me that the rightful king, the one, that was also not a racist like Mufasa. So the rightful king is the non-racist? And you're telling me that, I don't know, Big King Dumpling or whatever the fuck they're going to call him in this movie. I don't know what their father's name is. I'm going to just assume he was Dumpling.
Big King Dumpling.
Yeah, you're telling me you don't look at that and just think, I bet he's a fat lion. Like, he just looks like he's fat. Not that I saw him. He's just a king dumpling. Although the more I say it, it does sound almost like I'm being racist towards Asian people. So I'm going to stop that. King Furball. King Furry. I'm fine with that. King Furry. So King Furry's just sitting there going, I'm racist against hyenas. And that Mufasa's also racist. Look at Scar trying to be progressive and like hyenas. Fuck that. We need to keep this racism going. Mufasa, you're king.
I mean, there's only one way I would accept this, and that's if you get to the end and it's Scar telling this story to some hyenas, and then he walks away like, see, that's why I should be king. And then they all look at each other and one of them goes, do you really think that's what happened? And then the other one goes, I don't know, but I'm sure I'm motivated to carry out this plan to kill Mufasa. And then maybe the last one goes, man, that's some bullshit. And that's how the movie ends.
I mean, I'm just saying. Mufasa hella racist against some hyenas, man.
That's what it should be.
Oh, times. They are a changing. They are a changing. Also, like, why are you doing all this shit? Lion King's practically fucking, what is it, Hamlet? So, why are you doing this? Why are you doing a prequel to Hamlet that says that the murderous uncle was right? What are we doing? What is society coming to?
Well, everybody's got a price to pay, Sterling. A famous guy said that. And, it's at the end of the day, it's all about money, 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 dog. So they know if you get another Lion King, people going to pay for it.
Man, how did that last one make $1 billion? I just don't understand.
That's why we're here, Sterling. 1 billion.
It just made so much money for such a bad movie.
You ask somebody, why did you do this? Why are you retconning the Lion King? He'll go, because 1 billion.
Dude, okay, then make a sequel. Like, why are you making a prequel though? Like,
I'm pretty sure. I know he'll get us. He was not going to say anything else to you, Sterling. The person that you talk to will only say one thing, and it will just continue to go, because 1 billion.
Do they just like open their mouth and then like a cover of Lil Wayne's Millie comes on and it's just a Billy, just starts playing out of their mouth hole?
Yeah,
it's just a Billy.
Mm-hmm.
That actually weirdly does.
They would all look at you like you're crazy. You're like, man, why are you doing this to Lion King? Why are you doing this prequel and retcon and stuff? And then they would all look at you and go, because of $1 billion? Like,
that,
what is your problem?
That weirdly reminds me of 2 other Disney stories in the news. So one of them is the producer / show writer / new creator of X-Men 97. I do not remember that man's name, and I'm sorry. But he was fired right before season 1 premiered. He got fired. And everybody's like, oh, is it because he has an OnlyFans? He does have an OnlyFans, but it wasn't like really like a sexual OnlyFans. It's like, just whatever. And Disney was kind of like, yep, nope, we just let him go. And then recently, this man has come out being like, man, Disney just don't like me and all this shit. Like, just kind of starts going off the walls with some shit. And so Disney goes, okay, I guess that's how we're going to play it. And Disney goes, yeah, we fired this guy because of numerous and egregious, like, allegations and whatnots of just sexual harassment towards him and his staff. Like, just mentally and physically abusing them, sending just random people dick pics, all kinds of fucking shit like that. That they were like, we've just never had this much evidence that a man was doing bad things. And Disney was more or less willing to just be like, look, let's just part ways. We won't say something. You won't say something. We'll just NDA this shit and call it a day. And this man went, man, people really love this X-Men 97. I want more credit for it. So I'm going to start calling out Disney. And Disney went, dumbass. It just told everybody why he's a piece of shit and why he's not actually there anymore. So who does that?
Wow. Yeah, did he really just think that they wouldn't retaliate? Like, that doesn't make sense that they wouldn't.
I mean, it's just, why would you do that? Like, just because you want more credit for a show? Like, people were giving him credit. He just wasn't going to be back for season 2. And, just dumb. Because now his career is fucking dead. Like, it's dead. So
Yep.
you could have been making other shows and harassing the other people. Because apparently that's what he likes doing. And he could have been doing it because Disney kind of did the wrong thing and didn't tell people how bad he was. And then, now everybody knows. So there you go. Also, in other news, a guy and his family were eating at a restaurant on a Disney property. Now, this was not an official Disney restaurant. This is a restaurant that was leasing space from Disney, but it was on Disney property as a part of the Disney theme park experience, whatnot. They were like, hey, does this meal have any dairy or nuts in it? And they were like, nope. And they were like, are you sure? Because like my wife, like super deadly allergic to dairy and nuts. And they were like, nope, no dairy, no nuts. And they're like, are you sure? And they're like, yep, totally good. Meal had some dairy and nuts. Woman had severe allergic reaction. Woman died. So husband was like, hey, Disney, like that's kind of, some negligence there. How about you pay $50,000 for the medical expenses and all this other shit we had to do because you guys fucked up? $50,000. This motherfucker is suing Disney for $50,000. The most reasonable of lawsuits ever. If not, could have gone for more, bro. And nobody would have blamed you. Being a reasonable ass motherfucker, right up there with the woman that sued McDonald's for the hot coffee that everybody loves talking shit about. The woman that was just like, hey, McDonald's, your coffee gave me 3rd-degree burns and I needed skin grafts. How about you pay for my medical bills only? And McDonald's went, fuck you. Here's $5,000 or something like that. And so she sued them for medical bills. Now, she got awarded more money than that because, McDonald's was being asshats. But yeah, most reasonable thing ever. Like, hey, can you just cover the costs of the shit that you caused? This man's going to Disney for that shit. And Disney goes, hey, buddy, you remember when you signed up for Disney Plus on a 1-month free trial? He's like, yeah. And they were like, well, in the terms of service for signing up for that, any legal disputes you have with Disney must go through arbitration. And you can't actually sue us for your free trial for Disney Plus. Disney was looking real bad.
Yeah, even though they basically killed his wife.
Well, somebody that they lease space to. Like I said, it was not technically a Disney restaurant, but they are technically liable. It's on their property, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, that was it. So Disney was looking real bad about this. It was also, that was part of it was getting challenged in court. And I was like, that's where that lawsuit jumps from 50,000 to 50 million real quick. Because Disney, you want to be on that shit. Well, Disney came out and said, you know what? We'll waive our right to arbitration because this guy's been through a lot. And, we just want to do the right thing by this man. So we'll waive our right to arbitration and we'll let this go to court. Like they are just some altruistic company. Like they's just coming down like it's an episode of Touched by an Angel. And they learned their lesson at the end of the episode. Like also, why do they need to let it go to court? Just give the guy $1 million. Just give the guy $1 million. Just go, yeah, $1 million, call it a day. You're telling me the man's suing you for 50,000 and you give him $1 million? That just doesn't make it. Like, why did it get to the point to where you're going, hey, buddy, we're going to arbitration because you just give the guy $1 million. Like, you just do it. Like, it doesn't even end up in the news. You just give the guy $1 million. Like, you're fucking Disney. Like, it's just the dumbest news cycle in the world for them with that shit. Like, come on, man. This man's wife died, and he's just still being the most reasonable motherfucker ever. You kill my cat, I'm coming at you for $500K. And it was his wife. And it was their mistake. It wasn't like a, hey, oh, you just said, no, there's none of this. And we still just went, oh, okay. No, they went, please be sure because allergic. Like, they were like, hey, we weren't just asking because, whatever. Deathly allergic.
Wow. Well, I can't say it's unbelievable. I mean, these corporations and companies are so just
stupid,
greedy
sometimes.
And conniving, and they play dirty when it comes to lawsuits and stuff. Like, they are not trying to pay anything, that they're just heartless unless suddenly the optics start to seem like they might hurt them, and then they'll change their tune a little bit, but still they are not trying to pay anything. It's so true.
But they're going to have to pay something. Even if it went to arbitration, they'd be paying something. What happened to the good old days where the second that happened, a briefcase shows up at the family's house with $1 million and some NDAs? Like, what happened to those days where they actually had fixers to make the shit disappear? We can't have this shit in the press. It will make us look bad. Like, you're telling me that they couldn't call the Disney equivalent of Ray Donovan and just go, hey, buddy, like, pay them off? Like, come on. Like, especially when you just find out they are going, hey, $50K. How do you just not accidentally write them a check for $1 million? If you're Disney, I get that they don't want to set a precedent, all this other shit. But guess what? You are now setting the precedent for when you fuck up egregiously, your little arbitration terms of service bullshit for Disney Plus ain't going to protect you. Because now you've just said, hey, when we fuck up egregiously, we should waive it because it's the right thing to do. Like I said, if they had just paid this guy $1 million, we would have never known it happened. I mean, it's just astounding. And yet I was stupid enough to wonder why they're going to fuck up the Lion King even more. I'm the idiot.
He probably would have took 40 and some Disney World, some free trips to like Disney World for a year or something like that. I mean, he probably would have taken, you probably could have done something and made a big thing out of it and said, oh, we're sorry this happened and this is what we're going to do. And we'll give you this. And, you come to the park and we'll put something about your wife and have you guys come and have a good time. And we're sorry that happened. You could have actually turned that into a moment to make you look really, really good and probably spent less than what the guy was asking for.
Dude, that's the thing is even then, cost of doing business if you're Disney at that point, like you got to weigh the pros and cons, all kinds of shit. You're telling me you couldn't give him and his family lifetime passes, $100K, and have a plaque in some garden at Disney World with his wife's name on it?
Yeah.
and just done that and not even just batted an eye, that would literally cost them nothing almost. I know technically it's 100 G's. That's better than the fucking press they got for this bullshit.
Exactly. Why would you want that bad press when there was an opportunity to turn it into good press for you?
Yeah, or just even no press. Because I know there's like, oh, no such thing as bad. No, sometimes people not knowing that you're a heartless corporation is better than them finding that out. Just anything like that. Like, free Disney, like just go like, hey, you got free Disney Plus for life. That costs them what? $80 total for a lifetime. Like, you know what I mean? Just like little shit like that. Lifetime passes. Even if they live in Florida, that's a net positive. They buy one churro at your fucking theme park, you got their ticket price back at that point. Like, you know what I mean? It's that, like, that type of shit. Like, it would have cost them pennies compared to what it's going to cost them now. Like, it's so weird. It's almost like they were still riding high on their like legal maneuvering from all those like Ron DeSantis shit they were doing in Florida. When like Ron DeSantis is like, all right, well, we're going to get rid of your special district. And Disney's like, no, don't, please. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to do it. And then Disney's like, no, don't. And then they're like, all right, we did it. And Disney goes, oh yeah, by the way, you now owe us $1 billion because you didn't read the fucking print. And Ron DeSantis is like, oh man, well, like, all right, we got to pay him $1 billion. But yeah, look, these are all the people that are now on their regency board for their district. And then they went, oh yeah, but before you did that, we passed all these bylaws that means it's null and void pretty much for the next like 130 years. So you're still not doing a damn thing. They did a bunch of legal like maneuvering and Jedi shit. Like they looked fucking like legal masters on that shit. And I think the lawyers were just still high on all the coke they were doing from that shit. Because when this happened, they went, haha, look, but arbitration. And then just the PR person sitting there going, wait, what? And then they're like, no, don't worry. We already did it because we're doing all the legal shit. We're sending them to arbitration. And the PR person's like, no. Just mind boggling. Oh, Disney. You know what's funny? We're doing all this. We're technically talking about a fucking Disney movie today, too. That's right, kids. Disney owns the Aliens franchise also.
Yep.
I mean, the one singular thing right now I'll give Disney credit for. They didn't make Borderlands.
Fair.
Yep.
I mean, I can say that. All right, let's get on this Disney shit.
Spoilers.
I do not know why 2 buttons went off.
Somebody will listen.
I just hit the 1.
Nobody knows anything but you. All right. Are you ready? Yes. Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Heather and Jastin. Tonight, we're going to talk about what we liked, didn't like, and everything in between with the new Disney/20th Century Fox property. That is Alien Romulus. We will go spoiler-free recommendations and scores, and then into a more spoiler-centric section with time codes in the description to allow you to jump around in both audio and video formats if you so require. And with all that, I mean, we have to start with our resident xenomorph expert, the person that's probably seen the Alien movies, all of them, more than anybody that I've ever met. Heather, what are your thoughts on this here Alien Romulus?
Yes. definitely the expert because we know that sci-fi is my jam. So you're right. I've seen so much Alien.
I mean, I remember specifically after Alien Covenant came out. And you were like, look, I mean, it's not my favorite of the Alien franchise, but I will have to watch this no less than 27 times in theaters to make sure that I fully grasp the nuances of what this adds and subtracts from xenomorph lore. Because I will say this about you too. You're very picky about making sure you learn everything about the Alien movies just from watching them in theaters. Like you rented out theaters to watch the ones before you were born just numerous times. I mean, I remember saying like, man, that seems like a lot of money. And you were like, well, I can only watch the Alien movies in theaters. So I guess I'm going to have to rent it out because I feel like watching Aliens right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a very accurate story that defines me as a person, really. So yeah, thank you for that.
I mean, I do remember that whilst you said you were like, I'm not really a tattoo person, but if I was ever going to get one, I would just get the Alien Queen on my back, just laying eggs and just various xenomorphs all over my body.
Yeah, that's the dream. I mean, one day, I'd like to do that. Well, I will say that of the Alien movies I have actually seen, which is not all of them, 127,000 times.
Well, which ones would you say you have seen then? If apparently my story is made up and fabricated, which ones have you seen?
I've seen Aliens, Alien Romulus, and Alien Resurrection. Those are the only ones I've seen.
How did you skip 3?
I mean, maybe I've seen 3 and I'm just not remembering that it was 3, but I just don't remember seeing 3. I mean, no, I don't want to go spoilers in case. Well, I mean, that's an old movie. We can go spoilers, right?
I mean, there's an alien bull in it. A xenomorph bull.
Okay. I don't remember that. I do not remember that. Which one's the one where Ripley dies?
Ripley with the haircut. Sigourney Weaver with the...
Like the buzz cut?
Yeah.
Is it the one where she dies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have seen that one. So yeah.
I knew that would jog some memory. People usually remember that look that she had in that.
Whoa. How is that what jogs your memory? But not the fucking xenomorph bull.
Honestly, it's because the only thing I remember about that one is Sigourney Weaver dying because it was very Terminator 2 style.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
And to be fair, I've also, I was a kid when I did see it. So, yeah, I don't know. That's the only thing I remember about 3 is just her haircut and the fact that she dies in it.
I've seen that movie multiple times, and the only thing I remember is an alien bull.
I think I'm with her. I remember the buzz cut.
You guys don't remember Facehugger on the cow? And then it comes from the cow, and it's like a bull version.
I'm sorry, I do not. You think I would. You really do, but no, I don't remember that.
It's the first xenomorph in the fucking movie. God. Fucking degenerates.
But she does do she dies kind of like the Terminator dies, right? If I remember right.
Yeah, she lowers herself into lava, right? Or something like that. Or a reactor or something.
Dives or something. Wasn't it lava?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. See, that I remember. That's it. That's literally the only thing. Because again, I didn't even remember I had seen it because I was probably assuming that wasn't it. That part was in a different movie I had seen.
And
I know.
And the bull, I mean, come on, Sterling. Back then, the scuttlebutt was the buzz cut. That's what we were talking about because she looked so different. That was it.
So did the xenomorphs.
I just don't remember the scuttle being about that. The scuttlebutt was about the buzz cut.
Fuck the scuttlebutt. Fuck that bullshit. It was a bull xenomorph. You fucking savages. Like, what the fuck is this? When did we become a podcast of degeneracy? I thought we were. The whole point of this podcast was to talk about movies in a civilized manner. And you guys are sitting here talking about buzz cuts. Talking about buzz cuts. Come on. This wasn't G.I. Jane. This is fucking aliens, guys.
Hey, somebody got punched behind G.I. Jane. Look, look, man.
To be fair,
it was the scuttlebutt.
I think you just really wanted to say that word today.
Yes.
Scuttlebutt. To be fair, also, again, I've only seen it once and I was a kid. And so my capacity to really remember a whole lot probably just wasn't there. Even if it is a bull. Yeah, I get it. I'm just saying, yeah, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I've only seen it once, I think. So, but yes, that being said, of the Alien movies I have seen, it's up there for me. Actually, I did think this was a good movie. I mean, I would actually put it like right at the same level for me as Aliens. It's kind of like neck and neck with that, just depending on the day. So second or third best one, in my opinion. Again, I have not seen all of them, but of the ones I have seen, it's up there for sure. And my understanding is the ones that I haven't seen are definitely not up there. So I will take the win that maybe the ones I've seen are the only ones that matter seeing. But, and maybe one that is not worth seeing. But anyways, yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, again, like I was saying, sci-fi is not my, biggest love, like genre that I love, but I feel like if I'm going to like a sci-fi movie, it's something like this is the one that I'm going to lean towards, because it has like a really good amount of, you've got a story that you're following, that you're invested in. You've got these characters that they give you pretty much the right amount of character development and fleshed out characters that you need for a movie like this, and they give you the action, they give you the suspense thriller aspect of it. And I mean, they give you cool alien things happening. So it does have all the elements of, I think, what it is people do very much enjoy about sci-fi movies, about the alien movies and all of that. And yeah, so I mean, if I'm going to watch a sci-fi type of movie, something like this is definitely going to be what I lean towards. So yeah, I thought it was a really good movie. I mean, it did have one of those things where I'm like, there were maybe a couple of different times when I was like, is it about to end? Is it over? Is there more here? But obviously not like some movies where we felt like it ended 3 times and it wasn't ending. So I did like how they paced it. And I will say not everything really turned out the way that I expected it would. There were some parts that I was like, oh, this is going to be a predictable thing that happens. And it doesn't. And that was kind of a nice surprise to feel like, oh, the thing I thought was going to happen did not happen. So that's good. They do a lot of like well done callbacks to the other movies. I think they did them well. I mean, and that's one of those where you could very easily go the other direction with that. You could very easily overdo it or do the callbacks and it just not work, because we've definitely seen that in movies before as well. But in this movie, it worked. They did a good job with the callbacks. and it made sense still with the movie and the story they were telling in the movie. I liked our lead character a lot. I liked pretty much most of the characters you get here, even the ones you don't like, I think serviced the movie and the role they were doing well. So yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot I can say I didn't like about this movie. I mean, obviously some choices that are made that by characters that you're like, why would you do that? But I think that's kind of the point of some of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think overall, like, I just really enjoyed it. Was fun. I wasn't at any point bored in this movie. And I mean, my understanding is, like, I mean, also my experience, you don't need to have seen all of them to get this one. There's some things probably that would have maybe helped my experience with the movie if I had seen all of the Alien movies. But the fact that I didn't, and I still was able to follow this and understood what was happening and all of that, I think means that it's a well-told story overall. Yeah, I mean, they did really great suspense building in it. And yeah, I think that they balanced everything just right as far as the things that you want from this type of movie. So yeah, I think it was a solid movie.
Real quick, I do want to clarify something because I did look it up. There's weirdly enough, there's two different versions of the runner xenomorph from Alien 3. It was filmed as an ox, and that's the bull one. But then the theatrical cut changed it to a dog. But then a later cut that came out on DVD brought it back to being out from the ox. So there's like multiple weird versions of it. So it's both.
Interesting. Okay.
The last time I watched it literally was on in my iTunes. So it was like so the last time I watched it was the ox. So that was the last time I gave a fuck about that movie. And anyway, Jastin, what about you? Alien Romulus.
Well, Heather, I've seen a few more of the Alien movies than you have, but you've seen the best ones. So at least I can say that you've seen all the ones that honestly matter. I mean, like, obviously the first two, saw Alien 3. I mean, what's after that? Resurrection.
Yeah, Resurrection's after that. Then it was Prometheus and Covenant.
Prometheus, right?
I don't hate Prometheus.
Yeah. And then
it was Covenant.
We've seen that.
Yeah, Prometheus and Covenant.
Then Covenant. Okay.
And then the AVPs, if you count them in there too.
Yeah, and I was like, and so yeah, like when you look at those later ones, you just got some kind of bad, subpar movies in there. Prometheus is probably, I mean, is that the best one of the later ones? I mean, not counting this one, but probably so. Yeah, it is. It's the best of those. And then the other, then like the AVPs and, some of the other ones, it's like, there are moments I like, but they're just not good movies.
See, I like the AVP movies more for the Predator shit than I do the Alien shit, though.
Yeah, I'm probably the same with that. Like, I'm trying to think of the Alien stuff I liked, and it's just, there might be a moment or two I could pick from those and be like, the aliens were cool when they did this. The Pred alien at the end of the one. Which one was that one?
So the Pred alien shows up at the end of AVP, but is the main villain of AVP Requiem.
That's right. At first glance, I thought the Pred alien was cool. That was cool. But back to what I was saying, Heather, you've seen the ones that matter. And this is another one that matters. It was good. I thought that this was a good movie. I was really hoping, almost praying for this to be good. I didn't want to see another bad Alien movie. I just didn't want to sit through another shitty one. So I kind of came in with the expectation of please just don't be shitty.
Quick question, Justin. With that specifically what you're talking about, is that possibly partially because of how good the last Predator movie you saw was?
Probably so. Because, Predator had a come up with Prey.
Predator had some good movies, had a lot of shitty movies. Same with Aliens. They had some good movies, a lot of shitty movies. And the last one was good.
Yeah. So Predator had a little come up. And I mean, these characters, whether you're talking about the aliens or the predators, these are like some of my favorite sci-fi monsters, whatever you want to call them, monster, alien, whatever, creatures, characters. Like these are some of my favorite ones. I've always loved the Predator. I love his design. I just love the way he looks. I think he's a very interesting looking, unique character. Like you see the Predator and he just stands out, even when I go to like a toy shop or a comic shop or something like that, and you see a Predator figure, he just stands out, even when he's on a shelf and it's just something that somebody has done. He just stands out. I think the xenomorphs are the same way. Like the alien, I love the design of the xenomorph. I love their design. I love how they look. I love the slender, but the body. I love the little mouth that comes out of the mouth. I mean, I love all of that shit, man. The acid blood.
Do you like the fact that they're mainly just designed as different types of genitals?
Are they?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'm actually not even making anything up. Yes. The xenomorphs themselves were meant to be very phallic. The face huggers and all this other shit. You really see it on this. Are supposed to resemble a vulva in some instances, same with the eggs. H.R. Geiger is the person that designed the xenomorphs and a lot of that stuff. A lot of he's a very, very famous like artist. A lot of his shit's very much penis and vaginas. Yeah, I wasn't even trying to be on some bullshit. I was actually just making a joke at you when you were like, I like the way they're designed. I was like, yes, Jastin just loves the genitals. But now we get to make it a learning moment of, yes, they are very much meant to be genitals in different ways.
Well, cool. Well, I mean,
Did not know that.
I like my genitals and I like vaginas. So I guess that's why I like them. That's cool. I'll take it. I'll take it. But yeah, so I've always loved just the way they looked. And I really loved the first two movies. Yeah, I get Aliens is better, blah, blah, blah. I get it. It's more aliens. It's got nude. I get it. It is a better movie.
Hold on.
But I've always had a soft spot for that first one.
See, I disagree. And I think it really comes down to, do you want a horror movie or do you want an action movie?
Yeah. And I fall into that first one. I'm kind of team the first one. I really like.
Thank you.
I like the slow build. I like the tension in that. I loved that how you didn't know everything. You were kind of learning these things at different points in the movie, but you didn't quite know what was going on with everything. I love that scene where the alien first burst out of the chest. What an amazing scene with all of them at the table and he starts convulsing and then everybody's like, what is going on? And it just pops out. I mean, what an excellent scene. Like, dare I say, maybe just one of the greatest movie scenes of all time. I mean, it's got to be up there. I don't know where it is.
You're not telling a lie,
though. Be up there.
If you're looking at like film moments and it's just like single scenes that just kind of tell this story of the history of film, that scene is in there. Undoubtedly so.
Yeah. 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 I feel like I agree with that. I feel like that is got to be one of the best movie scenes. And it doesn't matter when you watch it, it still holds up because the acting is so good that everybody was doing. I mean, obviously Sigourney Weaver was good in it and everything, but man, everybody showed up for that scene. I was just like you go back and watch that and you just take a deep breath and go, my God, what a great scene.
Do you know why? Like behind the scenes, most of the cast did not know that was going to happen.
I heard about that.
To catch the shock and horror of that happening. My understanding is like some of the crew, what was it, William Hurt and the director, they're the ones that knew that was going to happen. The rest of the crew didn't know that the thing was going to burst and blood was going to shoot places. And like, so you're seeing like a genuine like horror, like a genuine scare for most of the people there.
That's kind of genius. Like, because it's not that stuff of like directors making you do something that is harmful or whatever. It's like that good type of surprise that was caught on camera. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, it's not like one of those things like, what was it, the famous story of Natalie Woods, and it's like why people think she was actually murdered and didn't fall off a boat is because she did that one movie where she's like, hey, I'm kind of scared of water. Like, I really can't swim that well. And she's a child. And the director was like, oh, yeah, I totally understand that. Let's just have you in this like fake rushing river for like 10 hours straight and almost dying constantly just to film this scene. And just, making her terrified of water to a higher degree because, they tortured her as a child. Like, this is just a scare. Like, that's the whole point. Like, it's a scare. Just like it's a scare with this. It's a jump scene. It's, you know what I mean? Like, he just did to the actors what he was doing to the audience, which feels fair. Like they're not in any danger. They're not, you know what I mean? It was just scare them like you're scaring the audience. So then that way they react like the audience reacts. And fuck, does that feel good?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's great. Just extra facts about that scene. So, so for especially scenes like that, but also what a great movie at building and paying off tension. It's also that, like, I remember that one kill where that guy must have walked through like 3 different rooms. He was looking around. The cat shows up. He's like, oh, here's the cat. The cat goes away. He goes down a corridor. He goes into a room. He's looking around. Like, they just kept on showing you all of these different dark places and places where you think the alien might be, and it's like in those scenes, you're watching this guy walk around looking for this cat. And it's almost like you could almost see the alien moving in the shadows or just slightly kind of like you almost felt like the alien was following him. You could almost feel the xenomorph following him. And then finally, when he bites it, it's a surprise too. Like that movie has just got to be one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. Just as far as, and it's sci-fi, but how it establishes the characters, how it establishes the monster, how people start getting picked off. And then in the third act is thrilling. We have our final girl. It's just the first alien is a chef's kiss. What I really like about this movie is this is more Alien than it is Aliens. That's why it works so well. That's why I like this so much, I think. I think if you're a Team Aliens person, maybe you don't like this as much because it doesn't have as much action in it, though there is good action in this. There is. The action in this suits the movie, but you don't have all those moving parts. It's not as much going on as in something like Aliens. So maybe those people may not feel the same way as I do. But if you love Alien, oh my God, this hit a lot of those same notes. It's not as good as Alien. There's some exposition dump parts that I don't feel that sometimes it dumps on you. And I don't feel that was as effective as what we did in the first Alien, where we're just giving it to you little by little and you're kind of figuring it out for yourself, but they're not giving you everything. I like that approach. This one holds your hand a little bit, and maybe it's a little necessary. It's the same audience isn't watching the first Alien, so maybe they felt like we got to hold your hand a little bit. So, okay. But so maybe on some respects I get it. But as far as the cinematography of this, creating the atmosphere that this should take place in, all of it is there. Like the manipulation of shadows and lighting and everything like that. It's all here. And I just love when a movie messes around with some shadows, there's should I say this? Is this appropriate? It's not, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm going to say it anyway. There's two ways to get me hard. You probably know the first way. The second way is when you manipulate lighting and shadows. I just love that shit in my movies. And this movie was very, very good at it. It was just very, very good at it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, what's wrong with talking about cinematic art on?
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, right? A cinematic boner, a CB, if you will. There's nothing wrong with that. And we all get them. We all have them. We all have things that activate them. So that's my activator. That's one of my activators right there, man. When you get some good cinematography with, and not like, oh man, these graphics, but like when the lighting and the shadows just is telling its own story on top of the story I'm getting from the acting and everything that's happening. Oh man, there's just nothing like that. And this movie, it had the appropriate cinematography and storytelling in that way for what I think Alien needs to be. So all of that was there. I never felt like the movie was in a rush to do anything. And I think that that's a good thing. Like it took the time it felt like it needed to establish the characters. It took the time that it needed to, even though I didn't like all the exposition dumps. It was a confident dump. Like, it was like, we're going to give it all to you. And then we're not coming back to it. We're going to go to something else. So I don't know if I liked exactly how it was done, but it was done confidently. Like, it didn't feel like they didn't know what they were doing. It felt like it was like, yeah, we're giving it to you and you're going to take it. And I don't know, man, there's just something about that confidence. There's just something about how confidently they did things in this. The third act is good. It was pretty good. It was pretty thrilling. It's pretty intriguing. You're like, oh man, what's going to happen? And they do some interesting things at the end of it. So, I mean, all of that I thought was pretty cool. This has one amazing acting performances. Now, all the acting performances I think are good, but I really thought that David Johnson.
Yes.
Is that how you say that?
Oh, fucking fantastic.
My goodness, man. Dare I say, in every Alien movie, there's a synthetic human. This is the best portrayal, I think, of a synthetic human in any, I think, of the Alien movies.
I think
he's the best one.
I can't go that far. Bishop over Bishop in 2, though? Bishop is fantastic.
That was a good portrayal. That was a good portrayal. But man, I don't know. I like the nuances of this one. I like the whole thing with the chip, and man, he was doing such good acting. You could tell when he was being taken over. You could tell when he was trying to fight the chip. You could tell when he was at his wit at odds because the real him doesn't want to do what the directive is. this is a fantastic performance of a synthetic human.
I'm just saying, I don't know if I can say it's better than Bishop. I would feel comfortable just saying they are tied with being the best. But like, I don't know if I can say better than Bishop. You know what I mean?
I won't fight you too hard. I haven't seen Aliens in a long time. Maybe if I go back and watch it, I'll be like, okay, I see what Sterling is talking about. But right now, knee jerk, just, so maybe this is recency bias, but I really liked this portrayal.
It is something
special.
Human. It is something fucking special.
It really is. Like, what a compelling character that wound up being. My God, what a compelling
Easily
character.
The best character. Yeah.
And he steals the show. He absolutely stole the show. I don't think I was cheering more for a character than I was him. Like because of just simply from what I could understand he was going through. And it was all in his facials and how he was. That performance to me is worth the price of a ticket alone. Like that performance. Forget the xenomorphs. Forget what happens. Yes, people get ate up. Yes, people get acided. Oh, there's a great death in this. There's a damn good death in this too. There's a damn good death in this. There are some good deaths, but there's a memorable one. Oh shit, that was a memorable death. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all already know probably thinking the same one. But yeah, so I'll quit rambling so we can get to spoilers. But yeah, man, this was a good time at the movies.
Do you want to see a sequel to this where it's not necessarily this same android, but like another one of those models? So it's like that where it's just like a weird thing of he's on a space station with a bunch of xenomorphs, just like something like that, where it is just him doing all kinds of acting in xenomorphs.
Yes, I would watch it. I will watch it because that's how compelling Andy was in this movie. Like that's how great I really think that performance is. Just one of the better performances I've seen all year. I'm not saying give him the Oscar or anything. I don't even know if he'll even be nominated by the end of the year. I'm not going that far, but for my money, that was one of the best performances I've seen. Like,
and it's sad because
in a
like
movie.
this is not a movie that will be Oscar anything, but yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And maybe for cinematography or something, but yeah.
Well, but it's also one of those things that sometimes it helps with what type of movie it is. And I'm not talking about Oscar performance. I'm just saying like there are certain movies that you're like, of course, I'm going to get great acting performances from this movie. You know, like those types of things. You're just going into this sci-fi horror movie and you just get an amazing performance out of it. It makes it that much more special when it's just that. And also when it's the introduction of that person to you. Like if you haven't watched any of the other stuff they're in, and you're kind of just like, oh, who the fuck is this person? You've got no expectations and they just come in and make you go, I need to just go through your IMDb and watch shit.
Exactly. And this performance, even though we haven't seen him portray this, but this performance is like one of the traditional performances in this series, in this franchise, whatever you want to call it. Like there is always somebody that is this. And that's what's crazy too. So he's up against all these other actors and people who have played this certain character in the Alien series. So we thought we've seen what a character like this has to offer. I thought I knew what this character had to offer. And this has completely changed my view of what that character can offer an alien story. Like he's completely changed my view. And I didn't think that was possible at this point. So yeah, man, what a great performance. So yeah, all in all, a solid film. It was my kind of alien movie. And yes, there are homages and there are parts where you could even say were kind of just like the first Alien, but it's enough of its own film, and it does enough and even makes those scenes that mirrored the first Alien, it makes them its own to where you don't feel like this is just a shot for shot or anything like that. I never really felt like that. When I saw something that was kind of like the first Alien, I was like, oh, that's cool. I see what they did there, but I never was sitting here going, oh my God, this is just the first movie all over again. So bravo to them, man. I think that this was a good film. And I would love to see this same director and some of these same people. I would love to see them do another one. That's how much I thought of this. I thought that this was a pretty good film.
So with that, one of the things that Fede Alvarez said, and doing press for this, is he wants to do an AVP with Danny Trachtenberg, the guy that directed Prey. He wants them to co-direct an AVP.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Didn't that idea just make you excited as fuck?
Yep. Yeah.
Because it's two people that get it. It's Danny Trachtenberg understands what to do to make a good Predator movie. Fede Alvarez understands what it takes to make a good Alien movie. And just put them together and he's like, man, I would love to do it. He's like, man, I'd love to do it with my buddy Danny. Like, I'd love to do an AVP with him. I'm just like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Like, what are we waiting for? Like, this just seems meant to happen. And they're friends. Like, what? Like, yes, please.
Doesn't it just sound like the most of course idea ever? Just like,
yes.
Yeah, duh. Like, why isn't that movie already made? Like, how did people at Disney watch Alien Romulus and not go, hey, we own the rights to both, right? And he's like, yeah. And they already want to do it. Yeah, let's already just make this movie. Let's surprise people and have it come out at the end of the year. And just go, yeah, guys, we're going to fuck your faces with this movie. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. No, that's awesome, though. Hopefully that means at least it's kind of written in the stars. Hopefully that means we will get it. It feels like not too much would need to happen. You don't even need a miracle or anything to make that happen. So it feels like it could happen. So I'm hoping that it does.
You just have to have common sense.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, I don't know, after the beginning of this episode, maybe Disney doesn't have all that all the time. But come on, guys. Just come on. You can make a Mufasa prequel that fucks up all your movies, but you can't make the most duh fucking movie ever. Get the fuck out of here. Come on. I'll be kind of quick with mine. I'm kind of with you guys on a lot of the same stuff. I mean, you said it, Jastin. I lean Alien over Aliens. I like the sci-fi horror more than the sci-fi action. Don't get me wrong. Both are incredible movies. Both have importance in everything. Alien kind of defined sci-fi horror. Aliens kind of defined sci-fi action. They both defined what the fuck they do. And I agree, Jastin. I love the fact that this movie is more Alien than Aliens, because I think that's where everybody's been fucking up. They've been trying to recreate Aliens. How much action, how much shit can we do? And you know what? The problem is these directors aren't James Cameron. James Cameron got it. James Cameron did it. James Cameron is the king of making a sequel movie like that, because he's the one that also walked in and did T2. So if you're not James Cameron, quit trying to be James Cameron. And you know what Fede Alvarez is? He's the king of fucking coming into an established horror franchise and going, hey, you guys remember why you like this shit? I do. Let's do that. Because he did it with Evil Dead. He did the 2008 Evil Dead remake. He's one of the reasons why I didn't like Evil Dead Rises as much as you guys. Because he gave me that Evil Dead remake that I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. And also, you know what this guy does? And I think that the reason why this movie works, and it's the reason why Evil Dead worked, he went, hey, I know why you're here. You want to see some aliens. Just like how in Evil Dead, he's like, hey, you want to see some Deadites? You want to see some fucked up shit? I know. You're going to have to wait a little bit, though. And it fucking works. The guy's a fucking genius at doing that. Because not only is he building tension like you would in a movie, just like they did in Alien, but they're also building the anticipation of what the fuck you want. He goes, hey guys, we're going to do some foreplay before you get your nut. That's what he's doing. He's going, hey, I know you want to see some xenomorphs do some cool shit, and we will get there. But you're going to have to wait a little bit.
It makes me want him to do all like horror reboots. Like if he did like a Nightmare on Elm Street thing, like that could be amazing, probably.
I mean, I get that, but I want him to like be able to do what he wants to do with this. Cause like he wanted to make more Evil Deads and they just didn't give it to him. Okay. If this man wants to make some more aliens, fucking let him. Let this man cook. Just like let him do what he does. Cause the guy is doing it right. I mean, so he comes in here and like I said, he mimics Alien, which is cool, but he does it in his own way. You know, I mean, this movie, it has the structure of Alien. It does. It's slow. You get some alien shit, kind of slows down a little bit, get some more alien shit. Then it goes, hey, we're doing some alien crazy shit at the end. Because that was the end of the first Alien. It has that action set piece of fighting. You know, it does all that. He did that. He followed that structure, but he tweaked it here and there. He added some different elements. He added his own twists. He added different types of performances and made it work as a new movie. And did it without the icon of the series, Ripley. Cool story. Loved it. Like, I love that this guy just went in and did it. And he brought in shit that I don't like and made me hate it just a little bit less. I've got 3 big complaints about this movie. And I'll say what they are right now, but vaguely. One is, I think the number one complaint anybody has about this movie. Just the character they brought into this movie from one of the other movies. Don't love that. Don't love it at all. Bringing back some shit from Prometheus/Covenant. I didn't love that. But you know what? The way that they tweaked it in this makes it not suck as much as those 2 movies did. So cool. And I, like you, Jastin, I didn't love some of the exposition with it / the artificial timeline they gave in the movie. I did not think that was necessary. You could have had that become something that developed throughout the movie. You know, do you really need the worry of, and this I'll spoil because it's a whatever. Do you really need to like have we're going to run into the ring of the planet? You're on a ship full of fucking xenomorphs. Do you need a time frame? There's a bunch of aliens. So do you need to worry about something else killing you? Like you got the universe's, equivalent of just a force of nature of death and destruction is on your ship. Do you need a ring too? That's the most nitpicky I'm getting with it, is that part. And that's why I'm spoiling it, but not, because that's not really a factor. And that's why I don't like the fact that they added that. You can have it be a factor at the end of the movie like they did, but do you have to have it being the motivational force throughout the movie? Nah, there's other shit that you already have in the movie that quickens the pace. that gives you a sense of urgency. You don't need that one also.
Yeah, you almost forget about the ring until then it's like, oh yeah, that ring, we are headed there, aren't we? It kind of is one of those because there's so much other things going on. You almost forget about the ring,
It's a non-factor until they make it just the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And then they're just screaming about it and I'm just like, all right, can we stop?
Yeah, but it's not like as you're watching the film, you're like, man, we're getting closer to that ring. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't,
So why do they need it? You know what I mean?
There was no way to feel the gravity of that, if you will.
Yeah. You ain't worried about the rings of the fucking planet when you got a fucking xenomorph chasing you. So why? But we'll get more into that. Recommendations and scores?
Yep.
Yes.
Recommendations and score.
Jastin, go.
Yeah, I'll be shorter with this part. Yeah, I recommend it. It was tight. It was a good movie. And really, whether you lean Aliens or Alien, if you like the Alien movies, then I don't really see how you're not going to like this one. It's got some good kills. It's got some good jump scares. It's got some good performances. Overall, the story is good enough, compelling enough, and easy to follow. And it was just a good time, And of the movies that I've seen, honestly, this summer, I haven't been compelled to go see one a second time. But if I had to see one a second time, it'd probably be this one. If I were to be invited by some friends and they were like, hey, we're going to go see Alien, I know you've already seen it. Do you want to go see it? Probably be more inclined to go see this one, a second time. So I think it does have everything. It's got all that good stuff. It's got some rewatchability. There are some scenes that are good, there's some kills that are memorable. So you know what? I would definitely recommend a person go see it. We'll go with 85 super memorable acid deaths unlike anything I've ever seen in one of these movies out of 100.
Dude, Fede Alvarez is amazing at those just ultra violent, gross deaths. I fucking love this man. The shit he was doing in Evil Dead, it's right up there with it. That's why I loved that one. Heather, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely think it was a good movie. And I'm actually, in the same camp as you guys, as far as I think Alien is the best of all of them. I like it better than Aliens, but I do think both are good. So yeah, I agree about the whole, you build up the tension, you build up to those moments later in the movie with the aliens and all of that. That is a really well done thing. And it does help you, at least for me, appreciate how this movie is paced a little bit more, because it's as much as you're okay, let's get to it, you're okay, I see what you did and I respect that. So yeah, I'm on board with that as well. I think it has good acting, and I am really glad that you mentioned David Johnson. He was phenomenal. I mean, essentially playing two different characters in a way, but he was just phenomenal at both. I think all of and like I said, I think that the characters, it's not like you get a whole lot of backstory for most of them, but you get just enough for each of them for what they need to be in this movie, which I think is also a really smart way to do this movie. I also didn't realize, I was just looking up, he wrote this movie too. That's cool. But anyway, I think that Fede Alvarez is really good at what he does. Because he did Evil Dead was his first movie he directed. And then he also did Don't Breathe, which I forgot. And I love Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe is a great movie. But yeah, and the way that he tells a story is very compelling in all of the movies. So yeah, I think there's not anything about this movie and yeah, it's not a perfect film. And again, I'm saying this too as somebody who sci-fi is probably my least favorite genre of movie. And I'm saying this is a really solid movie, and I'm recommending it because it's so much more than just, oh, it's just a sci-fi monster movie. There's so much more to it. There's so much more in it. And if there were more movies like that, I think with sci-fi, I would definitely like the genre more. You know what I mean? And so this is a movie that gives me hope that, oh, I could actually be into these sci-fi monster movies a little bit more. So, or monster alien type movies. But yeah, it's really good. It hits all the things that you want in a movie like this. So yeah, I definitely have no complaints in that regard. So yeah, I do recommend it. I think it's well done and a great entry, and up there. It's a top 3 in the Aliens movies I've seen. So yeah, I'm going to give it 80 tunnels full of xenomorphs out of 100.
Yeah, I recommend it. And this movie is exactly what it needed to be, because this movie didn't need to be the best alien movie. Didn't even need to be the second best alien movie. Honestly, it just needed to be the third. That's it. It just had to be the third best. And it is by a wide margin. I would tie this movie with Aliens as far as liking the movie. Aliens might technically be a better movie, but I prefer this movie. So it ties in that regard of one's technically a better movie, but I prefer this movie, and both of them are below the first one. So I think this is exactly where this movie needed to be. And it's not even close. Like, it's not maybe it's no, it is definitively in the top 3. Definitively. Just not even close. It just is. It's like if this now made it the Alien trilogy of like Alien, Romulus, Aliens, everybody go, damn, that's a good trilogy.
Yeah.
Just forget all the other shit. Like, nah, this is the Alien trilogy. Just fuck all those other movies. Make Prometheus into a made-for-TV like miniseries, and it's like, it's just a prequel series that was on TV. Just fuck all the rest. And this movie succeeds at it. It really does. If Alien is just a defining movie, it's in the 90s. I don't hate what you gave it, Jastin. I think Heather's a little low. I'm giving it an 84. 84 0G acid acrobatics out of 100. I don't know what the fuck else to call what they did with that. So that puts the official Cinescore at an 83. Spoilers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Spoilers.
Justin, I just know you want to talk about that death. So go ahead. I want to give it to you. Talk about the death, Jastin.
Well, man, it's, I'm not going to be able to describe it with words as awesome as everything looked, but
Reenact it for us. That'd be better.
Okay, let me just go get the acid.
Yeah, I was about to say, just go pour some acid on yourself.
Yeah, because basically that's what happened. But how awesome was that? When he was just laying there, and then it just starts to drip and it gets on him, and then you're just seeing it melt away his body. Like that was just incredible, man. Like,
I like that it shows actually how, like, if you actually had acid that burned that quickly, how destructive it would be and how it would disable you so quickly. Because say it drips on your forearm, right? You're like, oh, well, you just get up. Like if you put weight, if it really ate through you as quickly as this acid does, the second you put weight on that arm to get up, your arm would snap off because your bone would be eating away. Like it would just disable you so quickly. It wouldn't be oh, look, it's on my fingers. Oh, it's this. Like, no, it's eating through you so quickly. Trying to get away from it would also do so much damage you couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And this shows that.
Yeah. Yeah. You described it great, actually, because that's exactly what it depicted. He was trying to move and he couldn't because certain body parts and bones had just been eaten away. And the thing is that we know how destructive that acid is because we've seen it eat through floors in like seconds. Like it goes through this metal spaceship like in seconds. I remember in the first movie, they were just going down floors following the acid and it went through like 2 or 3 floors before it finally like stopped. So, I mean, that shit is crazy. And whatever sick bastard thought, how cool would it be if we could just see that going through a human instead of a floor? Man, that was glorious.
And I mean, we've seen people get burned by acid blood in the past. We've seen it, but this is the first time it felt good to watch. And I mean that in the way of because it sucked. Like it felt painful. It looked disgusting. It was everything you want from something like that if you're looking for a cool death scene. And you have to maximize the death scenes. You've only got like 5 people that could die in a cool way. So you got to maximize your coolness and your deaths. And that's one way to do it.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That was hella satisfying. I just really, really loved how they depicted that. And it was just so different. Because like you said, we've seen people die from xenomorph acid, but not like that. That was just really interesting. Just what they did to make this movie stand out from the other ones. Or like when you were talking about the zero gravity acid dancing we were doing to get past, what an innovative, creative thing to do with this that I've never even thought about that being a thing. That was neat too, Well,
also, I love the limitations they put on themselves in this movie too, because they're like, oh, hey, don't shoot these fucking things because it'll just, kill us all. So let's not do that. We're just going to hope they're scared of the guns for a little bit. But then, I liked how they spun it and they went, all right, let's do this to get around the limitation of, well, this wouldn't destroy the ship instantly if we did this. That's just cool ass, and this smart thinking. And it just adds to the layers because, like I said, I like the weird self-imposed limitation of you got 5 fucking thieves. These aren't colonial marines. These aren't science. You know what I mean? These are just some fucking thieves, man. And how do you get them to bridge those gaps? Even just the idea of just, hey, this thing has a self-aimer for you real quick. Just to, that. That's ingenious. That cool fucking, that little light X-ray thing. How do we make the chest burster scene cool again? We've seen too many chests be bursted. How do we add to that? It is 2024. There's been decades of chests being bursts. You throw in that little fucking X-ray scene for a little bit, and you see that xenomorph in her rib cage, breaking her ribs as it grows to burst out of her. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That was cool shit, too. I mean, I guess we should also talk about this. Ash is back. / Rook. / the late Ian Holm. That was a choice. That was definitely a choice. I like the fact that it wasn't Ash. It was, but it wasn't, because this was Rook. And they do have that hive mind through Mother that they do talk about in one of the other movies. So that tracks a little bit. It's really cool that his family loved it and wanted it. Because apparently he wanted to do some more stuff after he did his little part in The Hobbit as the old Bilbo. But just didn't really have anything. Didn't really have the energy, didn't really have the ability to do it. So his family was all for it because they loved the idea of him being back in movies.
That's good.
So that's cool.
Yeah. And they did not AI his voice, any of that shit. That was actually another guy that was doing an Ian Holm impression. So that's nice too, that they didn't, so like Ian Holm's family got some money from it. This other guy got some money from it. So, there's worse ways it could have happened, but when are people going to learn that we just don't quite have the technology yet to do this? It's not quite there. Because it would have looked better if maybe, I don't know, they had fucked up his face a little bit more. Because they tried to keep the face being a little more the synthetic human part. And it didn't look synthetic or human. It just looked a little off, and that was it. Now, the scenes where he was in the television screen, that actually worked a little bit.
Yeah, that worked better.
But those scenes when, man, he's just there and you're like, oh, man. It's just not there yet. We don't have the technology. We don't have the ability to really nail that as well as they think we do. Nah. But, it is what it is. You know what I think would have been a really cool way of doing it? If you weren't going to bring, they could have brought back a Fassbender to be a droid. They could have brought in, what's his name, to be a Bishop version. You know what I think would have been even cooler, though, that would have been added to the mindfuck of it all? If it was an Andy. If it was that model. I think that would have been super fucking cool.
Yeah.
Just to add to the mindfuck of it all of, it was him being evil, but it was also him corrupting the other one. And it was, you know what I mean? It just adds, I think, a few more levels. The Ian Holm adds to the nostalgia, adds to the callbacks to the first one. But I think if you really want to go mindfuck, I think you would have just had to been another one of him. Just to really kind of fuck with everybody. Because it would have been his voice too. So it's that familiar voice that's kind of fucking with you a little bit more. Oh, man. But yeah, I didn't love that. And I don't know anybody that really loves that they did that either. I think for a lot of people, that is the biggest complaint, is doing that. But I guess if you are going to do it, having the family of the person and everybody being happy and excited and, just loving the fact that you're adding to their family members' legacy, and also at least the rest of the movie was good too. Because that's what would have been bad is if this movie sucked and they did that. Because then they're like, oh, thanks for tarnishing my family member's legacy. So, that, and you know, the black goo from Prometheus, I didn't love that. You know, just when they were like, hey guys, here's a Prometheus nod, and we're going to get into the black goo that the engineers did. And I'm just like, oh man, at least they kind of did some cool shit with it. It was not a gigantic fuck up like they did in fucking Covenant. You know, it was this, they kind of, you know, added to it. And I like the fact that they did that weird super alien human hybrid kind of, which is also a callback to Alien Resurrection, but it looked like one of the engineers from Prometheus. Like that face was that, you know, and I liked the fact that it looked like a xenomorph with just kind of skin stretched over it. Like it added that grotesqueness to it, you know? So as much as I just hated the fact that they even acknowledged that Prometheus and Covenant exist, they did better with it than I feel those movies did. So, you know, that's nice at least. That they succeeded where those movies failed whilst doing it, you know.
Yeah. And it, in some ways, sort of mirrored, like, well, the way the confrontation went down to me was very reminiscent of like some of those Queen Alien battles where it's just a big bad final confrontation at the end. They didn't lean too much into the Prometheus shit. Like you're saying, like, I like how it was definitely, he had that, or the baby hybrid xenomorph human thing had the look of it, but the battle very much played out like something we like, you know?
Yeah, it plays out more like an alien or aliens in battle, you know? And the thing is, the weird thing about that scene is I think it's worse for you if you know what it is. So when they're like the black goo, like from the beginning of time, and you're like, oh man, that's the shit from Prometheus and Covenant. So you get that association with those movies in your head, which just is a downer. Whereas if you don't know what that's from, I think you're just like, oh, that's some, like, I guess some cool shit. And it leads to a weird alien thing at the end. You're like, oh, okay. Like, I think it's better for people that have no fucking clue what they're tying it to. Because, like, when they did that, they were like the black goo of life. And I'm like, oh, man. Like, that was my first reaction. I'm like, damn it. Those movies. And if you haven't seen them, you're just like, oh, yeah, cool. They like go, like, they got some immortal shit out of it. That's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't affect you as in much of a negative way as if you've seen those movies. So that's kind of cool that they were able to weirdly do that. But I have seen those movies, so it sucks. Like, it sucks for me.
Also, I like the back and forth of how that came about, how the xenomorph human came about. I like how it was just like, okay, you need to store these they're in these capsules or whatever, these tubes, and you need to make sure they get back to the company. Then I like the tease of, okay, should we inject her with this to save her? And then they were like, and then she was like, no, you know, our main character's like, no, I don't. Rain is like, no, I don't really trust this. We shouldn't do this. And you knew it had to happen, but you just didn't know how. I just like the back and forth tease of it. And then finally, you know, our pregnant girl's by herself. And then it's like, and you're just like, oh shit, this is not going to end well. It's just not. So I like the back and forth they did with how it came about. Like, you knew it was going to happen to somebody, but I like how they kind of messed around with the will they or won't they, and then it just, it wound up being, or is it going to happen by accident to someone? You know, I like how it was just in that moment. She was like, I'm making a choice. And yeah, it was a choice. All right. You know, so I did like how it came about too. They had some fun with that.
That is intriguing because like I did chuckle when he's like, hey, take this. I was just like, he's on that company bullshit. Like it's not ideal, but hey, this will experiment on humans. Let's just do it. Who cares? You're a human. I'm not. Like that's that synthetic company bullshit. So I kind of dug that. And plus that really was the Rook thing. And that, which is also the Ash thing from the first movie. Like, you know, as much as like, you know, we were talking about Bishop and we were talking about Andy and all this other stuff. I mean, also credit to Ian Holm as Ash too, because that twist is fucking fantastic in that movie. When you're going through and all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a fucking synthetic and I don't give a fuck. Like, and they're like, but you can't hurt people. And he's like, the fuck I can't. My directives for the Wayland Corporation. Fuck you. Like it's a fucking amazing twist, you know, and he did such a fucking great job with that. And, you know, like I said, if you're, you know, you want to acknowledge him and his legacy and all this other stuff, I get it. I don't love it, but I get it. Like, you know, so I want to like also call back to that, which is also this, like what we're like Fassbender in Prometheus and in Covenant really ties into the, you know, the corporation or like what's best for this, what's best for that, all that stuff, that mentality of fuck humans. I'm going to do what I want. Like this just doesn't feel quite like that as much as this was. Like I said, this was what Ash was, that the company is what matters, not you, the company. And hey, you're telling me I get a free human experiment? Here you go. Take it. Let's go. I just loved that. It did. It made me chuckle a little bit when he goes, here, take it. I did. I chuckled because I knew what the fuck it was. I didn't even, you know, I didn't need that scene with the rat that got all fucked afterwards. You know, when they were like, oh, look, I didn't need that because I've seen those movies. So I'm like, I know what the fuck that's going to do. I saw what it did to what's her name? Naomi Rapist or whatever. That sounded way too close to rapist. I didn't say rapist. I said rapists.
Oh, I thought you said rapist. So
no,
yeah,
no,
my bad.
I just don't know how to say her name, and I know it's like rapiste or something like something. It's like that, right? I'm not crazy, right? She's the girl with the dragon tattoo. And Prometheus. I'm just saying, we saw her pregnant with an alien baby. We saw that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Ray Pace, I think.
Sure. See, like it's really close to rapist, but I didn't throw a T. There was no T on the rapiste. I'm just a dumbass with names. That's all I'm saying. But I'm just saying we saw her give a black goo alien birth. We've already seen that. That's why, like I said, I chuckled because I knew what the fuck happens when you give the black goo to a pregnant woman. Like, but I'll say this, it was cooler in this movie. So. This movie is really cool. Also, and I love the fact that, like, they went, oh, yeah, it's not just there's a couple of fucking facehuggers and there's like a xenomorph running around. No, half this fucking station was taken over by xenomorphs. You just haven't walked over there yet. And they're just in that hallway and there's just xenomorphs everywhere. I was like, that's fantastic. That's just utterly fucking great.
Yeah,
like
they had sort of kind of built a hive over in just this certain part of the ship. So you could kind of tell what was happening. Like they all kind of concentrated their bodies and growth and all of that stuff over. It was just, it just happened to be over on this side of the ship, you know?
Yeah.
So since they chose that location, that's why it took us a while to get there. But still, that's also good storytelling. It didn't feel like, why are we just now seeing all of this, or how in the world was none of them running around? Like, it made sense where they were and what they were doing, because they were all like growing and gravitated to this one area where their nest is. You know, that's alien behavior, xenomorph behavior.
I mean, and it's also like all of it's really good storytelling too, as far as how they build the tension, because I don't feel like any moment was tension just for tension's sake. You know, like when they're all in that one room with all of the things, and they have to be super quiet trying to get around them. And then the pregnant girl, I think her name's Kay, had to like be like, how do I get out of here? And it's not like he's just going to not help her get out of there. Like, that was such a tense moment, because it's like, what do I do here? Do I just stay silent so we don't all die? Or do I help my sister get out alive and risk the rest of us? Like, it was a really great build up moment and great writing, because it's like, they're not just, even though, you know, I don't love all the decisions people make, I don't feel like they were they weren't doing things just stupid, just to make a stupid decision in a movie. You know what I mean? Like, you do feel like most of the things they had to do, or that they did, was because that was just kind of the only choice they had maybe in the situation, which is a really great way and smart way to write tension.
But I also love the way they would break the tension too. Like in that specific scene we were talking about, where they're walking through and they're trying to be super like quiet with the facehuggers, and all the like all hell's about to break loose. We know that's about to happen, because the sister's like, but there's a xenomorph over here. But the facehuggers are like, we're about to fuck you up and all that shit. And I love the like, it's building to that point, and the tipping point of the tension into like the action part is David Johnson just looking at them and saying, run. Fucking great. Like, it's just that moment of, that is where the tension peaked, and then it goes into the chaos. Like, it's that tipping point, and it was so well done. Like, all that shit, we know what's happening, because we know the xenomorph's here, we know this is here, we know this, and then it's just run.
Because right before that, you also see on his face that he's just like, nope, this sucks.
He's just in there going, this motherfucker.
Yep.
And I got it too, because I'm not gonna lie, that's what I loved about that character though too, is even though he's like this cold, irrational, fucking like synthetic at this point, you know, he's not the Andy and all this other stuff. I weirdly just associated so much with that character though, because when he's looking at that guy going, what the fuck are you doing, bro? I said no, like, shut the fuck up. And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. I know what you're, but fuck, man, like, can't help your sister if you're fucking dead too, man. Like I just really associated with what this android was thinking about these people. Like, it just really felt nice to be seen from this movie character when it came to the point of view.
Because it's funny, because I feel like I'm the guy that's on the walkie-talkie, where I'm just like, I'm not going to not tell them how to get out. Like, I got to do something, right? Like, I understood him in that moment. So it's funny that's like, you know, even in this movie, you can relate to something that any of the characters are doing at a given moment.
Are you, Jastin, are you Rain? Are you like in the middle? Or you're like you understand both, but you're like, I don't want to die?
Yeah, I guess I would I identify with that, you know. Or just the whole thing about, you know, that's my brother, and they're like, no, it's not. It's just a synthetic human. And the kind of the looks that she had, like, motherfucker, you don't know me. You ain't got to be my blood to be my family. It's all about who has my back, dog. I can get with that. I feel that a little bit.
But I mean, there was just so many times in this movie that I'm just like, listen to Andy. When they're like, open the door, she's going to die. And he's like, motherfucker, you can see the xenomorph right there.
Yeah.
You can see it. It will just kill all of us if I open this door. That's the dumbest thing ever. Like, I totally understand. You don't want your sister who is pregnant to die. But also, We all die if we open this door. I mean, I get that it might sound cold and logical and all this other stuff, but also just like, I'm going to be slightly selfish. I don't want to die either. So let's just not open the door. Like, it'd be different if they couldn't see it. Like, I'd be slightly more understanding with those people if they couldn't see it. And he's just like, no, it's there. Trust me. And they're like, no, it's not. And he's like, it is. No, but they could see it. Like, they could all see it. They're looking it in the eyes when they're like, open the door. And it's just staring at them. I'm like, no, this man is doing God's work. He's saving your lives. Like, I've just never felt so seen in a movie. And I don't know what that says about me, that it was the cold, heartless robot that was corrupted. That I'm just like, man, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't necessarily agree with his like pro-capitalist stance of like whatever the company needs. All right, that was out of hand. But a lot of those decisions, man, I love it. Plus, dude, I loved the line delivery. I loved it when they're like, you almost closed the door on me. And he's like, nah, I just timed it perfect. Unlike last time. Don't worry. That's fucking great. I loved that shit. The way he said, no, I just timed it perfectly. I'm a fucking robot, motherfucker. I do this shit. I loved it. It's fucking great. But it goes back to what I was saying earlier, though, too. We might as well just touch on this real quick. The artificial timeline of the shit's running into the rings. I'm just like, couldn't you just have some alien acid just ate away part of the ship and it's just going to fucking like, that's what made it. Like, I get you wanted the rings and all this other stuff. And I liked, it was really cool when it was like opening up and like just running into the rings and destroying shit. That was like some really cool shit. I liked that. But I'm just saying, like, couldn't you just have that have been something that happened because alien acid explosion, the space station's now careening towards the rings. You don't need that weird artificial timeline. You could still have all the ring shit at the end of the movie. You just don't need the countdown screaming about it for like 45 minutes. I was like, ugh. Like,
yeah, it might have worked better in a stressful situation, like you're saying. The big battle, the ship starts careening there. So now you've got this on top of this human xenomorph thing I'm trying to get rid of. But now we're also headed over here. So yeah, that might have worked. If that had been something that we discovered was happening in the heat of the battle, that might have been more effective. Because like I said, I forgot that that was even happening. Like, I remember like, oh man, they're heading towards those rings. I only got a little bit of time. But as the movie's going along and all these other things are happening, these moral conundrums and all this other great stuff is happening, you do just kind of forget about the rings. And then I think towards the third act, somebody mentions it and I'm like, oh yeah, we are headed towards the rings. Like it really was a moment like that, right? Where the movie kind of like has to remind you, and it shouldn't have to do that. Like it shouldn't. It should constantly feel like we're headed towards those rings. I don't know. Maybe we needed a shot every now and then of you seeing visually how close we were getting to the rings. You know, normally that's what a movie does, but this didn't do that. It was like we put that there and we forgot about it to the third act, pretty much, is what it felt like.
You know, and it's just some little things like that I felt that was like unnecessary. But like just one last little positive thing I want to talk about is just one of the things that they did so well in this movie is just like some of the most obvious stuff. Like, you know, a lot of times, like we say like, hey, do some new shit, which is very true. But it's how you do the new shit that I think we should maybe be a little bit more nuanced about. Because it's not just do new shit, because they did new shit in Alien 3 and they did new shit in Alien Resurrection and they did new shit in AVP. Okay, it's not just do new shit. for the sake of doing new shit. It's just like, weirdly enough, do the obvious part of it, which is, hey, have them do shit that you've seen before in just a new way. So it's not like you're just adding new shit for the sake of adding new shit. You're just showing new shit that just tracks with all the shit you've seen. You know, like there's no reason to think facehuggers couldn't swim. Everything about them says they'd actually probably be really good at swimming. And there's also nothing to say like facehuggers. Like the thing I guess I loved really like a lot about this movie is the emphasis they kind of put on the facehugger, because it's the most necessary thing to start one of these outbreaks. And just like, how fucking terrifying is it that like when there's just like fucking 20 of them fucking running through and like chasing you down and like crawling through vents and like swimming in the water. Like that was fucking great. And then the fact that they're just like dropping through vents in this hallway and they're just chilling, waiting. That's what's also terrifying about them. Like, oh, they know some people are around. We'll wait. Fucking awesome. Like they were just doing shit that like makes sense that they can do. We're just finally seeing them do it. You know, that's some cool shit. Like it's that type of stuff that I'm talking about. Like, yeah, it's new shit, but it just logically tracks. You're not going, well, why'd they do that? Like it just all kind of tracks with what you've seen. We just haven't seen it before. So it just kind of feels satisfying because it feels like it fits in the gaps of our knowledge. You know, that like it fills in those gaps. Like I said, there's no reason why a facehugger couldn't swim. Everything about them, the looks, the tail, like everything about it says they should be able to swim. We've just never really seen it. So now we see it. So it fits in that gap of what we know a facehugger could do. We just haven't seen it or haven't thought about it. Like it just tracks. And that's where this movie is so successful with these things. You see, you get that with the facehuggers. You get it with the xenomorphs. You get it ultimately with a, you know, engineer xenomorph human hybrid fuck thing. You kind of get it on all of those levels, and it really just kind of tracks. We've kind of all been intermittently talking during this, so whoever wants to talk next, go.
Go ahead, Jastin.
Okay. Yeah, we were all just kind of going, and I was like, are we just going to keep going like this, or are we even going to take turns? But now,
I kind of figured we'd actually just do more of it, but somebody just kind of take the reins of where we're steering it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, and even like with Andy and the chip and everything that was going on with him, I also like that just the irony of that being Rain's decision. Like she was the one who said, oh, if we do this, but she did it for a good reason. They couldn't have access to these rooms because he wouldn't be a robot that has clearance to that. So needing the chip in order to get clearance to get access to some of these rooms that they couldn't get to. So them trying to do something that would logically solve a problem just led to another problem. And again, just competent writing in this film. Everything that the characters were doing or the story elements that were driving them, they established a good reason for it that you didn't need to spend a lot of time with, and then they moved on. You know, even at the beginning, they established where these kids live, where they are, these mining conditions, and sort of this planet that has having them work X number of hours. And it almost felt like we're just keeping them there working. And so, you know, so they established this situation that seems very difficult to get out of. And you're seeing these living conditions and understanding why these people are trying to find means to escape. So that made sense. And they didn't have to spend a lot of time on it. They showed you some of the conditions, and it's like, okay, I can see why these characters want to escape. And then everything that they were doing just felt like something that the characters should be trying to do. Okay, let's try to get through here. Well, we need the chip. Okay, let's try to use the chip. But now we've discovered these face huggers. We've discovered these things. So let's try to find some way to do that. Oh, the only way to get out is now that Andy is being controlled by the company. Well, now this is the only way out. So now we have to follow what this synthetic human is saying, because this is going to be how we're going to get out of here, because they know what they're talking about. We don't. We've never been in this situation. We're minors and workers and young people, but we're not in. And so I think that was a smart decision too. Rather than having this group where there's a soldier or there's somebody elite something or somebody who's hella well trained, I just like too that these were just some people in a desperate situation trying to get out of their situation. I think that also helped with the tension too, because you didn't feel like, oh, this person is a badass that I know can just escape this. It sort of made you question, how is person going to escape? How are they going to be able to do this? So then when they would come up with these situations like the gravity acid jumping, that was cool and it was fun and it was interesting. And it was like, okay, well, maybe an elite soldier person, maybe Ripley wouldn't have thought of this, but maybe somebody like Rain would, So I thought that was cool too, just how the story moves along. So I thought that it moves along really great. And what is this? Just under 2 hours. So it was well paced to be what it was. I thought that it was well paced. The only things that were kind of lulls were just some of those Rook exposition dumps. Those were the only things where it just felt like I thought it would be a little exposit here, a little exposit there, a little exposit. But man, he would exposit and then it just kept going. Okay, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you how this happened. And then this happened. And then this decision was made. The company made this. And now this is
That
why we have this.
Never
they were
shut
just
up.
too long. Yeah. I think you needed some breaks in that where maybe the characters discover some part of it. And then they go back to him going, hey, what the fuck is this? And then he could expound on what it is they're looking at or what it is they discovered. There might have been a better way to break that up, but it felt like they just wanted to give it all to you so they can move on to something else, which maybe, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to say armchair quarterback. And was that the smarter decision? Maybe if you just wanted to get it over with and not have to go back to it, but it didn't feel like it in the moment. It felt like in those moments, this has gone too long and we should have broke that up a little bit. So, and that was the main complaint I had with this. But everything else I really liked. I liked how it was developing the characters. I liked a lot of the character conversations. It felt like real people. It felt like things people would say. It felt like reactions certain characters would have. So all of that was good. The back and forth with Rain and Andy's relationship, I really liked all of that with the synthetic human and her and the back and forth with him, and just whenever these moral conundrums, sort of gray decisions had to be made and the ends justifying the means versus humanity and all of that stuff. I really liked all of that was going on. That just made the in-between times when we weren't fighting xenomorphs, that made those scenes interesting. And David Johnson was just doing such great acting that it wasn't even like when the xenomorphs weren't there, you were like, where are they? And I never really felt like that. maybe where are they in the sense of, oh man, they're lurking, they're coming, man. You guys better get going. But not like I'm getting bored with what this movie is showing me. I'm getting bored with all this people shit. Where are the aliens? It never felt like that. I never felt like that. So I think that's also another testament to the film, is that it was able to hold your attention even when we weren't xenomorphing or aciding and shit. You know, it was still able to kind of hold your attention with what the humans were doing. And in the good alien movies, they were always able to do that. You know, in the good alien movies, they always sort of had something like that to keep it compelling in between. And this movie spends a lot of time building. So it's very important that you had those scenes be compelling, because you're going to be waiting to get to the alien shit. So, and I think for the most part, they nailed that. And that was very, it felt pivotal in this. It felt like those were scenes that had to be nailed. And they were able to nail those scenes, I think, to where this flowed seamlessly, even when we weren't immediately fighting aliens. So, yeah, all of that was good stuff. And I mean, we already kind of talked about the third act and how it ended and everything. And all of that was fine, you know, and we even got that kind of cool little like one-liner. I forgot what she said whenever something you fucker or something, die you bitch or something she said, but there was a nice little one-liner there, like the final line given when you're about to beat the final adversary. So all that was cool, and I didn't think Andy was going to make it. I just kept thinking, oh, Andy's going to sacrifice himself, especially with that whole prime directive, what's good for Rain. I just knew that this was going to come down to that robot sacrificing itself. And that was going to be it. And she was going to be the only survivor, and she'd be logging in. I figured they would do the Ripley. I'm going to be doing the journal thing, the logging, the log and stuff, and I'm going to be the only survivor. I thought that's what might happen. But you know what? I was so glad that Andy made it. Like, I was really happy he made it, guys. I was happy that we didn't just do I'm a robot so I can die and you're a human and you can live. Like, I'm glad we didn't do that, you know?
Yeah. And that's exactly like when I was like, you know what? It didn't take the direction I thought it was going to take. That's exactly what I meant by that. Because I was like, the way they set up Andy from the beginning felt very much like he was going to go. It felt very much like he was going to sacrifice himself to make sure that Rain could live. Because, yeah, like, that's his only reason for being, kind of thing, was to do what was best for her. So that, and I'm, again, pleasant surprise, because he is by far the best character in the movie, and everything he did was great. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that he didn't end up sacrificing himself. But I thought it was an interesting choice. And maybe that's what the guy, Fede, wanted, was for you to think, oh, it's going to go this way, and then kind of curveball it a little bit and be like, oh, okay, I guess he's going to make it. You know what I mean? And like, they're probably setting up for another Alien movie down the line, at least I hope. And if that's the case, you know, maybe he'll be sacrificing himself at a different point. But yeah, that's exactly like with movies like this too. There are some things you feel are very predictable, but you can't really say that with all of this movie, because I didn't expect that Andy was going to live. I really did not.
Yeah. And they did some good things with them. Just like at the beginning when we find out that she was going to have to leave Andy, like the plan kind of was he might have to be left because of the laws and everything at the planet that they were going. So planting that seed there. And then later, whenever they were talking about leaving, so, you know, whenever she's like talking to Andy and she's like, I can't believe you did that or something. And he's like, oh, leave someone behind, like kind of throwing that back in her face at that moment. So I thought that was a good callback. And so and then the whole what's best for Rain is what I need to do. So yeah, they just planted these seeds, but the payoff always seems satisfying for most of that stuff. Even just coming back to her, and she said, "You have a new directive now. What's best for us?" Which maybe in a certain other movie doesn't work. Maybe that's cheesy in another movie, but it worked here. I was like, it got the heartstrings in here. I was like, oh, what's best for us? Yes, Maybe I just liked Andy so much that line works. But even that line, I was like, okay, that was cool. That was cool how all these directives, all these things, what's best for this. But in the end, it was about them too. I liked that. I like how that came around to that. But even then, it still felt, these movies and the typical trope things that they do, it still felt like it was going to come down to him sacrificing himself. I still just didn't believe it. I was like, I just thought maybe at the end he'd be dying or something and be like, this is best for us or some shit. I just knew somehow it was going to do that. And so, yeah, like you said, I'm just so glad it didn't. But, and I'm really glad because we told such a compelling story. It would have really been disappointing to just end that compelling story with that compelling relationship in just such a cliche, just we've seen it a million times way. We've seen the robot getting split apart and convulsing and the white liquid blood everywhere. And, we've just seen it so many times. It was just nice to do something a little bit different with what we do with the synthetic human. So yeah, really, really, really super appreciated all of that. So, but yeah, I think that's it for me. That was all I really had.
What about you, Heather?
Yeah, and I agree about that line. It kind of worked with the whole what's best for us thing, because you also think about how throughout this movie, like, you can't help but like care for Andy. You can't help but care about him, because even if whether he's logical, what's best for the company, or if he's like, oh, what's best for essentially my family, like in either scenario, you're just kind of rooting for him. But it's one of those where at the end of it, it's nobody's ever asking this synthetic human what's best for him. Nobody's asking him like what what would you do? And again, because he has directives, like, why would he think about that? So it was kind of cool to be like, no, what's best for us? You're included in this. You get a say. And, it's just not something he necessarily wanted or expected, but it was just kind of cool to have that moment between them. I agree. And my only thing, though, now that I was thinking about it, was at the beginning too, like, so Rain knew that Andy might not come back from the mission, right? At the beginning, and she had made her peace with that and everything. But then it just felt like for the rest of the movie, it was like, no, like, we've got to get Andy out. It's super important that he's with us. So I guess I was a little bit thrown off that she was so quick to, I'm not necessarily quick to, but I was surprised that she was okay letting him not come back from the mission in the first place. I guess that would be my only like counter argument to like that whole storyline between the two of them.
Well, it's not really that he wouldn't come back from the mission. It was just that he wasn't going to be able to go to that planet with them. And it's like the cousin that gets ate by acid even says, he's supposed to be on the trip with them to make sure everything goes okay while they're in hibernation, while they're in cryosleep. So he's more or less meant to come along to go on the mission, to get the cryopods, to just be their babysitter for 9 years and then get abandoned. And I think in her mind, it was ultimately, I think her whole plan was to wait till they got there and deactivate him because he couldn't finish, like couldn't go with them. Just to be like, you know, or wait till the last minute and be like, oh, shucks, man, you know, I got to stay here, but, you know, you can't. So bye. Like maybe something like that, like that ditch at the end to where she's not the villain because she never wanted to tell him, you know, and all that other stuff until he found out. And then she was still going to like be like, well, you know, there's just nothing I can do about it. She was still going to soft play it the whole time. Like, and I think her reluctance to tell him was also what was like leading to her like ultimately never being able to leave him anyway.
I guess that's fair too, because it was like maybe she was trying to buy time until she could figure out what she could do with that for that not to be the case. But it just, I guess in the moment how it was presented felt like she had made her peace with it and she was like, I just got to do it. But yeah, I think you're right. Maybe it was more of like a, like, well, just to get this going, let's just agree to it. And then I'll do what I can to make sure that we can change that part of the plan. And that is a very Rain thing to do based off the character we see her be in this movie. So I guess that is fair to say. But yeah, it just kind of in the moment, I was like, wait, what? She's okay with this? Like she was so adamant about, you know, protecting him. But
I think also at times it was a just fake it type of thing, like fake it till you make it type of scenario of I have to just say I'm okay with it and I've accepted it because I just don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe some of it too was just by the end of the movie, maybe that was kind of an arc. That was her arc. Like at first, maybe it was like, okay, I have to leave him, but this has to happen because there's this life over here I want. And if this does have to happen, then it has to happen. So maybe there was a part of her that was dead set on it. And like Sterling said, never wanted to, just wasn't going to tell him and not be the villain until that last moment. Or maybe in her head, she was like, well, this may have to happen, but maybe I can find a way out of it. But I think it works either way because by the end of it, that whole thing about what's best for us, I think was also for her too. It was like understanding that he is important to her and her life and everything like that. And it's not just he is this robot to serve this purpose. He should serve a greater one. And like you said, Heather, him having a say and him being a part and him being included, I think she had to learn that lesson too. And it was through this horrific thing and seeing how the company was and how it didn't care about anybody's lives. And the ends justify the means. As long as the company is served, it doesn't matter what has to happen or who has to be sacrificed in order to do it. So maybe too, it was an arc of, if I just leave him, what makes me any different than this company that was willing to sacrifice anyone and anything? It's just, all that matters is that the ends justify the means. So maybe this whole thing made her realize, and I think even at the end, he said, well, what about when we arrive there? What's going to happen to me? You know, that problem still exists, but she seemed ready to handle that problem. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Yeah. We'll figure this out. We will come up with a way to where we will be together. We will handle that together. And that definitely didn't seem like her at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair. And I do really like everything else that they did with their relationship and dynamic. And I really also like their whole thing about how he tells like the dad jokes to her and all of this, and how like even in that moment when they were just thinking we're done for, let's just do jokes to make it better. And then that's what triggers her to have an idea. I really liked that too, because again,
tight.
that's just that smart writing of, we're putting this in here to build this relationship, but it's also going to play a part in how they get out of here too. Like, I just really enjoyed how they did that. Also, I really liked the fact that they had those guns that correct your aim for you. I just thought that was a really cool like thing where it's like, oh, it'll adjust it for you for the aim thing. Like, I just thought those were really cool weapons to have, especially in this specific case towards the end. But yeah, I mean, it is funny that this is a movie that's so about the sci-fi and the action and all of that, but like, we very much cared about these relationships, at least the one between Rain and Andy. And again, it's probably a lot of credit to the actors and how they had their dynamics together and just how they played their characters. But like, one thing that really kind of sucks is Kaylee Spaney, who plays Rain. She's a really good actress. But I think, unfortunately, right now, she, for me, has suffered that problem that Carey Mulligan and Renee Zellweger suffer of. They're always kind of outshined by whoever else they're with. And it's unfortunate because she's great. Everything that I have seen her in, she's been very good. Like, I haven't seen Priscilla, but in Civil War, she was great in that. But she was outshined by Kirsten Dunst and by the other reporter, even by Jesse Plemons, just because everybody was just on in that movie. And then in this movie, she's outshined by David Johnson. You know what I mean? Like, she just, unfortunately, that's just kind of, and she was in, what is that? Bad Times at the El Royale. Again, she's not a main character, so it's not as much of a surprise that she was overshadowed by almost everybody else in that movie. But you know what I mean? Like, she's always very good, but she's just never that like it factor of whatever movie it is that she's in. And I hope that changes. Maybe in Priscilla it's different. I have not seen that yet, but you know, like, she has so much potential to be like this incredible star. And I hope that that's something that she, like, at least on my radar, gets to be, because it's just, yeah, she's great in everything she's done. I've seen her in, but she's just always outshined by somebody else in the movie. So yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about it. But, you know, and it's not a discredit to her. It's just also a credit to how well all of these characters are in this movie. And I think even Isabella Merced, who plays Kay, the pregnant girl. I mean, poor Kay, honestly. Like, Kay had it hella rough in this movie, like, immediately, you know, and I was really rooting for her to make it out as well, because she just went through a whole lot, like, in this entire movie. And I just really felt for her character a lot, because I'm like, you know, she's pregnant. She lost her brother. Was the other guy, I don't remember what relation he was to her, the acid guy, but
that was her cousin.
Okay. Yeah. Her cousin. So it's like she lost them, and, you know, she got killed basically like almost 2 or 3 times in this movie, and then eventually gets killed by her own alien baby that she has. Like, the poor girl, you know what I mean? Like, I just felt for her, and she was a really good performance too. You know, because it's like, there's always that one character that is like a weaker member of the team just because they're not bringing any specific skill. And that was definitely her character, but you still care about her in this role. And you also still, like, you want to see her make it out. And she's very scrappy, and she's very, like, doing everything she can to try to actually just survive. And, you know, unfortunately she doesn't towards the end, but I really was rooting for her to make it out. On
her real quick. I don't know. Maybe Jastin felt this way. I thought the second she said she was pregnant, I was like, oh, she's dead and her baby's going to kill her. I thought it was going to be something like where they like legitimately like had some weird baby face hug or something like would have gone there. Because I wasn't expecting Prometheus goo in this movie. So I thought they were going to do something though, where the face hugger impregnated her baby through her, and it was going to be this weird xenomorph fucking thing inside her stomach, and like, just shit like that. Like ultimately kind of what happened, but I just thought it'd be more xenomorphy. But yeah, the second she's like, I'm pregnant, I was like, oh God, she's so dead. There's not a single character in this movie that I guarantee will die. Other than that, in the pilot, the lady, because we did see that she had the face hugger in the trailer, or the chest buster in the trailer. So I was just like, those were the only two that I was like, oh, guaranteed dead. Just guaranteed death.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that I didn't like think she would die. I just was rooting. Like the more the movie went on, I was like, I really hope she does make it. But I'm not saying I'm surprised that she did die. You know what I mean?
I meant that just in the regard of that's why I never rooted for her. Because I was just never more sure that somebody was going to die in a movie. Like, it just, especially weirdly enough, the longer the movie went, the more I was like, oh, she's so dead. Just so dead. Like, even when they're like, before the black goo, before all that shit, just the more the movie went, like the second they found her in that tunnel, I was like, oh, so she's not dead. So dead. Like, I've never seen somebody get rescued and be more sure they were going to die in a movie also. It's a weird conflict of feelings, because I was like, oh, she's already dead. Oh, she's alive. And also so dead. Like, it was just one of those things that was constantly going through my head of and at that point when they rescue her, like I said, every second after that, the worse her death was going to be in my eyes. I was just like, oh, she's lasted 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes of death coming her way. Like, that's just weirdly how I was equating everything with that character in the movie. The second she went, I'm pregnant.
Yeah. And that is totally fair. I mean, my thing is like, I just went through a lot of different things and like scenarios in my head of like who might actually make it out, other than Rain, who I assumed was going to be at least one, if not more, of the survivors. At one point, I thought it was going to be her and the pregnant girl's brother. I was like, I could see him possibly making it to the end with her, and then that was at the point when I was like, I think Andy's dying. So if there's another survivor, it's going to be that guy. And it wasn't. But like, it's kind of like what you guys mentioned, like they did have that really cool death with the acid. But I feel like I like the variety of deaths that they did in this movie, because that guy, I'm not remembering his character's name, it was quick. It was like, I mean, it wasn't quick because he lingered a little bit, but it was like a quick like stab, and then you knew immediately he was dead. And then I forget, like at the end they like drag him somewhere, right? And then they like extra kill him. But
wait, which one are you talking about? The brother?
Yeah.
Okay, so the brother, they do harpoon him in the back with the tail, and then they lift him up. And whilst they're up there, they kind of just stab him a few more times, and then they do the whole little mouth burster through the head. That classic, yes, yeah. Jastin just reenacted it so eloquently. Fantastic.
Yeah. So he wasn't dragged. He was lifted. That's what it was.
He was lifted up into the cocoon tunnels, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, just so they could fuck him up some more. Because that's something they like to do, is fuck some shit up and then kill it.
Yeah. But it just, I appreciated that they gave you variety of deaths here. With it being, this creature that there's several ways they probably could kill you, and the ways that you think they might, you know, like when they're in the hall full of all of them, like that could have been a lot worse than it actually ended up being for them. And I thought it was going to be. And that, again, that's the great thing about this movie, where you're just like, something's about to go down and I don't know when or how exactly, but I feel like this might be where it's going to be. And I feel like this might be what happens. And then it gives you a little bit of that, but then it says, nope, not yet. It's here that this happens. And it's just so great, because as many of these alien movies as there are, and as many sci-fi movies as there are where they do similar stuff, finding new creative, inventive ways to tell this story and do these deaths is a feat of its own, you know, because it could have been just like, it could have been so easily like, oh yeah, we've seen this type of death a million times. And even with the shots that they do that are callbacks, where it's like, you know, the alien like right in Rain's face, which is going back to the one with Ripley, where they're right in her face, and the bursting out of the chest thing, like you said earlier, Sterling, they still made it inventive and creative. They made it where it was, you're looking for it to happen, but you're so glad it happens in a slightly different way, and still in a very cool way at the same time. And that's honestly like one of the like coolest things about this movie, really, is how it's creative and how it does its horror aspects of it, I guess. But also, like, you don't feel like anything's cheap. You don't feel like it's a cheap death. You don't feel like any of it's not like an earned situation of what you're about to see. And I just think that there's so many sci-fi movies like this that could be lacking in that area, but this is not one of them. And especially being, you know, however many they made before this. And it's like, yeah, you find, you know, this director found new ways to just really blow your mind with how they tell this story. And it gives me respect for directors like that even more, because like this could have so easily been such a like B sci-fi horror movie. It had, you know, there's so many opportunities that it could have fallen flat so quickly. And because of how the story's told and the way everything is done, it is not even close to being like second rate anything. And it's such a fine line to toe, but if you do it the right way, you're a genius in how you do your movie, which we see here. So yeah, I just really appreciate that. This made me really like appreciate how sci-fi movies can be made more than I have in a long time, because they do it right. Fede did this right in every element of how they do it. But yeah, that was my only other thing I wanted to say.
I mean, I do think it's funny, like just the different types of mindsets going into it, because like I went into this movie only expecting Rain to live. And I'm not saying that character specifically. It's just once the movie was introduced, I was like, oh, she's the one that's going to live. Because I really thought that they were going to mimic the first movie a little bit more in regards of like, she's the Ripley. I was like, oh, she's going to be the lone survivor. That's all. Just like in my head, I'm like, oh, she's going to be the Ripley. And I mean, I guess like you guys have said, it's like I really kind of like the fact that this movie did end up surprising me in some ways. So it wasn't just a Ripley. But I will say this also, at no point did I think anyone else really was going to make it. Also, once they established that they're like, oh, there's 6 characters in this movie, I was like, oh, they're all dead but her. Because I'm like, they're going to final girl it, and you can't have only 4 people die. Like, that would be weird. This is an alien movie. I don't care if there's only 4 people. You can't have only 4 die. That's weird. I just knew so many people were going to die. Like, they just had to. It's a numbers game. I was like, you don't have a force like the fucking xenomorphs, and they don't kill some people. I even at one point was thinking, are they just going to accidentally find some more people to kill? Like they're going to be walking around and just come across the people just to kill them. But it ended up working out with the death count they had for it being very restrained in that regard, like held back in the death count. They made up for it. And just some of the creativity and just some of the elements they added to the movie. I was okay with them doing that only. And technically, Andy is on the board, like on the borderline aspect of robot death. Because she did even have to put him in the cryopod to make sure he could make that trip. So, which also, that's the weird thing I don't get about synthetics in these movies. How is fucking Rook ripped in half, but and have his chip taken, and he's just so fucking copacetic and just so like, nah, I'm good. I'm fully functional. I can't walk, but I'm functional as fuck. But like, Andy gets knocked over and he's just useless after that. They're like, he's practically dead. Like,
yeah,
I just don't understand. What are the rules for synthetics in this world?
true. Because you would think that like the more advanced model or the newer model would be the one that could last longer in a sense. So yeah.
Well, that's the thing. We don't know we don't know where Andy's model falls into it. Because while Rook is like, oh, like your model's one of the reasons why we were able to do what we've done colonially speaking, we don't know that his model's older or younger than the Ash / Rook model. They don't actually establish that.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm almost willing to assume the Andy model is the old one because we have not seen the Andy model in any other movie. So it's almost like it's so old that by the time Alien 1 happens, it's replaced by the Ash / Rook model because that model is so new. The crew of that ship didn't even know that Ash was a synthetic at first. Like, so that's the only argument I'd make. And that later, then it becomes the Bishop model, and then it becomes whatever's in, I don't know, other shit.
Okay. Yeah. And also I do forget that like this isn't like this takes place kind of in the middle of some of the movies. So yeah, I did forget that part of it. So never mind.
Yeah, this movie does take place between Alien and Aliens. During this point she's in cryosleep, right? I don't remember how she ends the first movie.
I think so.
I know that's how she ends the second movie. See, that's what's fucking me up. Is I know that's how she ends the second movie, but supposedly the pods get fucked up. And that's why Newt and the other person die between 2 and 3. So like I know that. I just don't remember because there is a big time jump also. So I should have fucking watched Alien and Aliens before this. I should have. Now I'm regretting it.
It did remind me of one. I will say there was one for me good jump scare whenever, she has the suit on at the end and then, she's kind of twirling around or whatever. And then like the baby alien thingy comes like right in front of her face. That was actually a pretty good jump scare.
I call him Hubert. That was Hubert. I feel bad. All he wanted was his mom to give him a name.
Mm.
Anyway, do you guys got any more thoughts about this here movie?
Nope.
Nope, not for me.
Oh, no. What was my justice that I added after we watched Borderlands? Was it that, or did I add it after Deadpool? And I'm just now remembering it now and not when we did Borderlands.
I'm trying to remember.
I added a justice too. Was it?
Oh, we said justice for us having to watch the movie.
That's right. It just clicked.
Yes.
Yeah. So on that note, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet at www.cinemaslayers.com, Cinema Slayers podcast on Facebook, cinema_slayers on Threads, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Cinema Slayers pod on the YouTube and TikTok. Give us a 5-star rating and review. Really help us out. We'd really appreciate it. Tell your family, tell your friends, family, tell your family's friends, and most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because dear sweet mothers love
David Johnson.
I love David Johnson. That's all I know.
Same.
Remember, we here at the Cinema Slayer podcast are pro slut, pro Sydney, pro naked. See, did I add another pro something too? I need to go back. Can't remember all the things I added to the outro, because I added a pro something, and it was, yes, justice for Chris, justice for Todd, justice for stunt people, and justice for us for having to watch that they're Borderlands. Yep, it's going to drive me nuts. I know I added a pro something else in the last few episodes I did. Fuck me. Pro acid death. I'll say that much. God, I am a mess now. It is super late. I am a mess. I'm forgetting shit. I don't remember. But, you know, as always in the TikToks, the YouTube videos, and this podcast, just remember, according to Jastin, Moon Knight is the best picture. Fuck winner. Oh, my God.
Wow.
It is a fucking mess. But I know we were pro something else. What was the other pro? We were pro something, and I just don't remember, and it's going to drive me nuts.
Cinema Slayers.
I'm going to have to go listen to shit. Guys, you're supposed to keep me in check.
Yeah, I can't remember. Like, it's going to probably drive me crazy too.
I just don't remember if it was Deadpool or if it was Borderlands that I added a pro something.
I was going to guess the chicken nugget logs, but I just don't think that was it.
It might have been we were pro Wesley Snipes' Blade. I don't remember. I feel like I just threw it out there randomly, and I don't remember what it was. Man. All right. We're out of here.